What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another Good Morning Tottenham. So good morning to you all out there. We've got quite a bit to get through today. I'll run through what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to start off with a bit of news from Gary Jacob from The Times, and then we're going to move over to a few talking points. We're going to start off with Kane and Son, who is the most important, then talk about our creative block, and then take you through who we think our best starting 11 are at Tottenham. And then also we've got a bit of a loan watch for you today as well. And then we're going to be taking your calls to see your opinions on all the topics we have discussed today. But first, let's start off with Harry Winks from Gary Jacob at The Times. And he says, Harry Winks opted against pushing for a move away from Spurs this summer. Tottenham are open to offers, but the club's £40 million asking price discouraged Aston Villa and Everton from pursuing their interest. I mean,
yeah.
40. Who's going to pay 40 million for Harry Winks?
We were talking about 15, 20 million, saying that's like the max we're going to get for him. And little do we know, they splashed a 40 million price tag on him over the summer. No wonder he was nowhere near close to moving over the summer. When we talk about, the hierarchy holding us back, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. 40 million was never going to be the price for Harry Winks. Look, I'm all for him believing in himself and wanting to fight for his place. I got no issue with that and him wanting to stay. But if Spurs are open to selling, Nuno's open to sell him, you got to give a realistic price that people are looking to buy, because Winks is nowhere near worth a 40. Maybe he was worth it a couple of years ago, but now he's not worth 40 million, nowhere near. And he could have easily got him out the door for less, and then freed up a space in the centre for a bit of a player to come in and be an upgrade. And now, with Winks' display yesterday, that was a real disappointment in terms of, we thought he was going to start the season looking to make a difference and get back to the Winks where he was, going toe-to-toe with Real Madrid and that kind of stuff. And now that performance on Saturday really put a dampener on what were his prospects again after this season, after what was a promising display in the Europa Conference. But we all know in the Conference League, it's easy to have a good display there. You have to do it in the Premier League if you really want to get into Nuno's plans, and he didn't do his chances any good on Saturday.
Yeah, 100%. And how many times have we seen him put good performance in against average opposition? Cast your mind back to last season, Carabao Cup, Europa League, even scored from the halfway line in the Europa League. I mean, he was putting in good performances against average bog standard opposition. And any time he comes up against anyone of note, really, he puts in a shocking performance especially last season. And there was a rumour, was it last summer or the summer before, that Man City were interested in paying 40 million for him. Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone laughed at that at that time. So I mean, if you're comparing Winks now to what he was then, he's dropped down so many levels since then, because at least then you would think, all right, say he hasn't been that bad for that long, but now it's just an extra year onto that. He can't be valued at 40 million. He has to go out the door for at least 15, 20 million tops. Yeah, absolute tops.
We're talking about refreshing the squad. He's unfortunately, even though he's at a young age, he's been part of the squad now since our last season at White Hart Lane. He was part of the squad when he scored against West Ham that season. So that was when he first broke into it. So he's been part of the squad for a good 5 years now. 5 years, and if he hasn't nailed down a starting place by this point, it's unlikely he ever will. And I think it's also not only that. Not only has he not nailed a starting place with his performances, but he's also got this sense of, I feel like he's got this sense of entitlement that he deserves more minutes than he generally shows he deserves. And I think it's contributed to some sort of this attitude towards Winks, where I feel like it's negatively affected him, and it's negatively affected his performances as well. He's nowhere, he's gone from a player who was in the England picture, he was being selected for squads, and now he's so far removed from that. Probably Mark Noble's ahead of him at the moment in the England bloody pickings, I reckon.
Let's not go that far.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. And
at least he's had a cap, you know what I mean?
And this is what we talk about when we talk about players who are maybe deadwood and squads need refreshing. I think he's definitely the one who needs refreshing. The reason why I think he's happy to stay and fight for his place and all that kind of stuff, and he's happy at Tottenham. First of all, he's a Tottenham lad, so I think he does want to make it at Tottenham. And second of all, I don't think he's going to get anywhere better than Tottenham. There's no upward trajectory for him after he leaves. It's only unless he goes and smashes it out.
You're telling me that Man City rumour wasn't true?
I reckon I reckon it's not beyond the realms of possibility that they were interested at the time because of the kind of style of footballer he was. You know what I mean? He would fit in with Man City style of play, the way he plays, because he's a quick, well, he was anyway, a quick passer, one who likes to move the ball quickly and set the tempo.
When were those rumours? Was it last summer or the summer before?
It was the summer before. It was at the end of it was 2 summers ago. When Mourinho first came in, and then we had lockdown, and then that summer there, basically, that's when the links were. When he actually had a pretty decent end to the season, but. So I can understand why he wants to stay, but I feel like he doesn't fight anymore for his place. He talks the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk ever with Harry Winks, and that's the thing with him.
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time in the Premier League anyway. He literally had a game where he's setting the pace setting the tempo of the play, switching play really quickly on a sixpence onto the wing back's foot or the winger's foot, or doing a through ball, or even getting a shot on goal. Just there's nothing like that from Winks. So. That when we talk about moving on players who are the deadwood, he's unfortunately falls into that category because he's been here for so long and it's gone stale for him. That's the thing. That's why it's so good and so refreshing to have Skip there, because he's a player who's got that freshness about him, who's so happy to be in the squad because he's a youth player and he's got that hunger about him. That's the main thing with him. He seems to have lost that hunger. He doesn't have that. He had that when he first broke in, but he just doesn't have it anymore. That desperation to impress the manager and fight for his place in the team, it just seems to have gone.
And at 25 years old now, you know, he's not a spring chicken anymore.
Definitely
I know
not.
he's obviously not old yet, but at 25 years old, you need to be playing consistent football. And he needed to have been playing consistent football for the last 2 seasons as well, to be honest. So, I mean, his stock is just getting lower and lower, in my opinion, as the seasons go by. At 25 years old, if you're not playing consistent football, and when you do come in, you're not playing at a high level, I mean, what are you really doing?
The most damning thing for Winks is that Skip's ahead of him, and he's just gone out on loan. Yeah. He's just been out on a loan. Winks has been part of the squad for 5 years, right, in the first team, battling for his first team place, being called up for England, and yet Skip has gone on loan one year, and he's already ahead of him. That is the most damning fact of Winks' Spurs career. The fact that not only was Skip ahead of him, he's way ahead of him in the pecking order just after a year loan deal. And that goes to show how much Winks has regressed in the past couple of years. And that Skip, Skip should be fighting for his place right now. Skip should be in a battle with Winks for that spot in midfield. And Winks, if he had any sort of ambition or any sort of a fight about him, should have been starting the season in the team and being the senior player at 25 years of age, England international. Yet Skip comes straight back from a loan and is straight back in the team. And is not only straight back in the team, he's well ahead of Winks in the pecking order. And that is so damning on Winks.
I completely agree. And I think all of us could have called that as well when we were all getting excited at the back end of last season over the summer with Skip coming in back into the team from his loan at Norwich. And also when Winks first broke into the England team, we hardly even heard of Calvin Phillips. You know what I mean? They're exactly the same age. Now Calvin Phillips has solidified that spot in the England squad, and Winks is nowhere to be seen. You know what I mean? There's these players, when Winks was coming through, you hadn't even heard of these Declan Rices, these Calvin Phillipses, and now they've all overtaken him, you know what I mean, by far, and quite rightly so.
Well, Declan Rice made his debut. I remember when he made his debut, it was actually against Tottenham. He made his debut when they beat us in the League Cup. 3-2 at Wembley when Ayew did score a hat-trick or something, 2 goals. Anyway, Declan Rice made his debut at centre-back in that game, and maybe a couple weeks later, Winks is putting in that performance against Real Madrid. So he had a head start on all these players, and he's just been overtaken by everyone.
By far.
Because he's let himself go stale. It hasn't worked out for him, and that's why he was part of the deadwood that needed a refresh, because it's not working out here at Tottenham anymore. He's too comfortable. I don't know whether he's too comfortable or what the problem is at Tottenham. He's maybe just happy being a squad player at Tottenham. He doesn't want to test himself being going for the first team, another team, but whoever it is, Winks, it's just not working out. And that's why we should have been prepared to take a lower fee this summer, because we knew it hadn't been working out for a while. And that's the thing. So for Levy to put a 40 million price tag on him is pretty ridiculous.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And I think that when you look at this upcoming summer, I say upcoming, it's a long way to go, but the next summer coming, And Winks is going to be, if he wasn't at a crossroads last summer, he's going to be at a real crossroads this summer, because I can't imagine him fighting his spot back into the team. I imagine by the time the summer comes, he's still going to be deadwood. And if Levy is still around that same thinking, because the guy's contract, I think he's got 3 years left in his contract. Yeah. So, I mean, if the guy is still putting in these kind of performances, is Levy really going to still ask for that 40 million in this upcoming summer?
Yeah, it shouldn't be. It was ridiculous to ask for it this summer. So, next summer, I mean, we'll see how he performs over the season, but I'll be amazed. I'll be amazed if he asks for that kind of money next summer. 40 million is just a ridiculous price for Harry Winks. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous if that's true.
It should be 20 million at the absolute top, seriously.
The tops. And even that, you'd be lucky to get 20 million last summer, to be honest. So I can't believe he was asking for 40 million. Someone like Dele Alli, I can understand, because you just know that... you know, with what he can offer, what he's done. But with Winks, it's always been promised with Winks. It's always, even that, you know, that Real Madrid performance was brilliant, but it's not like he performed.
What about that second half against Barcelona as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, that was great as well, but like, it's not like that performance against Madrid, he did that for a whole season. He did that for one game, and then was like, okay, this is what he can do. We saw what he can do, but we've never seen what he can do on a consistent basis. So that's we're charging a price for a player that's purely based on a few games of what he can do at his best, but never shown it consistently.
I think it's unfair. I think that when he came into the team for the first year or two, he did show quite a lot of potential consistently.
There we go,
I thought.
potential.
Yeah, potential.
Not consistently.
I think it was consistent in the first 1 or 2 years, and then after that, it was just dross. But I think under Pochettino, the early signs of Winks were definitely very good, and we all thought we had a player on our hands. We did.
We never saw those Madrid performances consistently.
Okay, fine. Not the levels of Madrid and the Barcelona games, but we did see high level of performance.
Decent level. I think... You know, if that Madrid performance was like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, he was maybe consistently getting 6s, basically. I
mean, there's a reason why you backed him till very late. You know,
because I could see what he can do, and I think he's got a lot of. I do think he's got a lot of potential. That's the operative word, potential. I know what he's good at, and I know his qualities, and I can see what he can do. And when people call him useless and he's not good at anything, blah blah, and that's what I took issue with. But to be honest, for the last 6 months, he's been nothing short of disgraceful.
I completely agree with that. And there were times where he was getting into the England squad, when he was first breaking into the England squad, getting a starting role as well.
Yeah.
There were fans, I remember there were fans saying, or even pundits that were saying, Harry Winks is brilliant. He offers something in that central midfield that no other England player offers and stuff like that.
He still does. I don't think that England, he has different skill sets to other England players.
And, you know, people were getting excited about him around the whole country, not just at Tottenham. And then he just fell off a cliff, just literally fell off a cliff.
Because he never
improved.
He never consistently put in a level performance that we saw at his we saw at his best. Those top level performances are so few and far between from Harry Winks, really few and far between, and that's the truth. He set himself a really high bar with when he performed in that game, basically, and he never quite lived up to that. That's just the reality of the situation with Winks, and I'm desperate for. Look, I still believe he cares about Tottenham, and you know, he wants to make it at Tottenham, and you know, he's a Tottenham boy, came from our academy. I'm still desperate for him to like make his Spurs career a success, but with each passing game, with each passing performance, he's doing himself more and more a disservice, and it's getting less and less likely, and he's giving the managers less and less option but to not pick him, basically.
Yeah,
like that's the reality of Winks at the moment.
It's true. It's true. And you know, the guy's on 50 grand a week at Spurs. Does he get that anywhere else?
Yeah, probably. Because if you're paying 20, even if you're paying 20 million for him, you're probably giving him 50 grand a week for an England international. That's just the reality of the Premier League.
Stealing a living, 50 grand a week.
Yeah, but he'll be getting that. He would be getting that because, you know, he's come from Tottenham. If whoever he goes to will probably be happy to have him because he's Tottenham playing the international, all these kind of things. So for sure he'd get 50. I don't think he'd get much more than that unless he earns it. But yeah, 50 I think he would get.
Well, anyway, we're just going to have to see how that one plays out, because we're stuck with him till at least January. And probably till at least next summer, and then even then probably Levy's going to command too much of a fee for him anyway.
But to be fair, just to give Winks a bit of a defence, not that he deserves it for his performances, but I think on the conditions for him on Saturday, for his position, it didn't make sense for him being in the team. It just didn't make sense.
I said on Saturday, I didn't want to mark the players down too much on it, and I thought Nuno got it completely wrong. And I put the majority, if not the full blame, on Nuno for the weekend.
Yeah, because with Winks, where there's 3 defensive mid, if you put Winks in the middle next to maybe a more creative player and Højbjerg, maybe that's something that's a platform for him to play in and something he can do. But you put him on the left hand side, that midfield 3, like that was, and you're tasking him for a role he's not especially comfortable with usually, and you don't give him any options as well for ahead of him. Like, he's always going to be very difficult for him to do that role, and that's why he struggled so badly. But I think for me, it's not necessarily that on the ball quality on Saturday that disappointed me. It's just the way he was closing people down and making tackles and that kind of stuff. That's what really annoyed me.
Backing out of challenges and all that kind of stuff.
And just felt like closing people down, like closing crosses down. He was late to the ball, lazy, and there's a reason he was the first one to be taken off.
Yeah. Definitely. So that's the kind of Winks situation. I can see all your comments in the comment section below. I mean, does Winks even have any more fans left? I really don't know, because no one seems to be backing him up or anything anyway.
He needs, look, if he wants his fans back, he wants people to start backing him. He needs to start showing it. I think people are just sick and tired, like me anyway, of who are backing him and saying, look, he's still got quality and he's still Spurs ball, all this kind of stuff. But like, I just can't remember the last time he played well. It's been so long now, so it's up to him.
Against some good opposition, that is.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no real reasons, mate. Like, okay, he had that injury, didn't he? We always said he was going to have to play with that injury back in the day. So maybe that's why he's declining, or maybe those concerns a few years ago have come to pass now. Maybe that's the reason. But the reality is, football's you got to. It's not like a charity or anything. You can't just play players based on sentiment. You've got to prove it on the pitch, and he just hasn't.
We've got a comment here in the live comment saying Ryan Gravenberch is the player we need, and it's funny you say that, because I think there's been a link between Spurs and Ryan Gravenberch yesterday from Vijajes Football, saying Tottenham are monitoring Ryan Gravenberch's situation in order to strengthen their midfield area for the next Premier League season. I mean, he's smashing out for Ajax.
Yeah.
He's a player that I would love.
Yeah,
Absolutely
he's looking
love.
good. I've only seen him in a few games, but he's definitely someone. He's young as well.
Yeah.
So he's definitely someone who we should definitely be giving
Football
our
Manager
tabs
legend as well.
So for sure, if it comes January and or in the summer, and it's an opportunity for us, we should definitely take it. But then again, with Sarr coming in, is not so. And
Sarr is very versatile though.
Yeah, but Sarr's young. You got Skip, who's also young. Højbjerg is also only he's like 26, so he's still going to be a fixture of the team. So it's going to be difficult for us to sign in many centre mids and them to come into the team.
All right, let's move on. The next topic we're going to be talking about is, who is more important, Harry Kane or Heung-min Son? Sim, let you take this. So I'm going to put out a poll in the comments for this one. And yeah, Sim, what do you reckon?
It's a difficult question, very difficult question, because we've seen before that like people say, oh, Kane can't play without Son, all this stuff. When Son's out, Kane is nothing, but when Kane's out, Son steps up. But we have to remember a few years ago when Son wasn't even a fixture in the team. Kane used to play. Kane was brilliant even without Sonny back in the day. So I like in our last season of White Hart Lane, Son wasn't like 100% in the starting 11. Yet Kane was still a brilliant striker back then. So I don't think it's true that Kane can't play without Son. But last season, it's a difficult one. I think Kane is a better player, but in terms of who's more important to the team, there's a good argument that is Son, because without Son, there is no one really breaking a neck to stretch the opposition's defence, run in behind, make them think in terms of other possibilities, make their defences think, and open up the space for Kane. And if I feel like just like on Saturday, when there's no Son, and then also Lucas and Dele aren't doing the running in behind and making Palace think. What Palace just did was they just stepped right up all the way to the halfway line, knowing we're not really a threat in behind, and they could do that so easily. And knowing even they could give Kane the ball on the halfway line, and with no runners in behind, we just weren't a threat. So that's one reason why I would say Son is potentially more important than Kane. And I would say even for example, in the big games like against Man City, can we put in that kind of performance without Son? It's like, can we stretch Man City's defence? Can we exploit the space Man City have without Son? No. However, there is a however here.
There's always a however.
There is a however. In these other games, when we're playing Watford, for example, I know Son got the winner against Watford last time out, but when we're playing those kind of games against Watford and against teams who are sitting back and teams who are allowing us the ball, I think there's where Kane does become a more important player. He becomes more effective. He becomes when we're having more players in and around the penalty area. I think Kane is more comfortable with defenses in front of him and having to pick out passes and things like that and make workings than Son. I feel like Son can sometimes get crowded out a bit more than Kane does, because Kane has that bit more physicality about him, and he's the one as well. If you swing crosses into the box, he's more likely to get on the end of them and stuff like that. And that's where I think Kane becomes important. So it depends what game you're talking about, but I think in general, especially when you think about yesterday, I think we definitely needed Son more than Kane. But I feel like it's just when I see the comment section, whenever I see those comments, you're a Kane apologist, or Son is so much more important than Kane, it's always a Korean fan. It's always a Korean fan who says that. I literally look at the name and it always has something to do with
when you say something not even bad about Son, but when you say something like Kane's better than Son or something like that, you're like you're proper hurting them. You're proper hurting the Koreans, and I can see it because the guy is a national hero.
I think they're just because they love Son so much, and then we're always like, Kane is our guy, basically. Kane came through the youth system. As much as we love Son, look, we do love Son on this channel a lot, but Kane came through the youth system. He was top. He's been 3 golden boots. He's just a world-class talent, and we love Harry Kane so much. And I think because we love Kane so much, they want Son to be the star of the team. They want Son to be the poster boy of Tottenham because he's the poster boy of South Korea, basically. So I think they get a bit, I don't know, they just always look to protect Sonny in any situation. They always want Sonny to be the go-to guy. And because he's not always that guy, they feel threatened by Kane, I guess. And I guess that's the only logic I can see in why they always want to create these debates or this friction in between the two. I don't know why it is.
But I would say they would probably say the same about some of the comments on this channel about Kane over Son. I think it works both ways. I think there is an element to Spurs fans or English Spurs fans protecting Harry Kane in that sort of instance as well. I think there could be arguments both ways, to be honest. But in my opinion, I kind of think they're. I'm not sure if I can say Son is more important than Kane or Kane is more important than Son. I'm not sure if we can debate that quite honestly. But I think that the way I look at it is that we can play better with Son without Kane, and then with Kane than without Son. I think we're much more fluid going forward. I think that we attack better. The only thing is that Harry Kane, obviously, he gets so many assists and so many goals. It's hard to say one is of better importance than the other. It really is.
Yeah, I know. I understand what you're saying. I think we've definitely... Look, the thing is, without Son, and we haven't seen it too many times without Son and with Kane. Because usually when Son's out, Kane's out, as usually happens. I can't remember too many times. I can't remember too many times when we've had a situation for an extended period anyway, where we've had no Son and we've had Kane and we've had our other options. And do you remember too many times where we had it for an extended period? I can't remember. Not in the last few seasons.
No.
So it's difficult to really say. We've never really had a comparison. We've seen Kane out injured for extended periods, and then Son step up. But we've never really needed the reverse. We've never really had no Son for a long time, maybe 1 or 2 games. But we've never really had Son for like 2 or 3 months out. And
I'm trying
Kane
to think
also
in those
fit.
odd games, though. In those odd games, I'd like to see a record, games without Son or something. Whilst Kane is playing and seeing what.
All I know is the only time I can remember when we've had Son for out an extended period and with Kane is last season White Hart Lane, when Son was not a guaranteed first team player back then.
Yeah.
And Kane was still great, but Kane First of all, he was younger and he was a bit fresher. He was more pressing and all that kind of stuff. And also, he had a better system around him. He could rely on Eriksen to feed him passes. He had Dele in his pomp. He had Dembele and Wanyama really shielding that midfield. And he also had Walker and Rose providing that proper width on the wing backs. So he didn't have to hang back as much as he does now.
Yeah, I don't think you can use that kind of period as an example because Son hadn't reached those heights yet. I think you could only use like the last 3 years as an example of this debate. I think
the thing with say yesterday's game, if we had Son instead of Kane, would we have been more of a threat? I would say yes, we probably would have been more of a threat because we would have had that pace in behind. However, would we have been enough more of a threat in Saturday's game that would have made a big difference? I don't think so, because I still think that the midfield three was holding us back so much that we probably wouldn't have created those chances for Sonny. We wouldn't have found him in behind as much as we would like to. But we would have had that threat in behind, which we didn't have.
But if we would have had Son, would Nuno have set up a different way
instead of Kane?
Yeah,
I don't know. What other way could he have set up?
Well, what do you mean, what other way? I mean, we were saying the setup was completely all wrong on the weekend. We played like a 3 in midfield, it was all completely all wrong. And maybe if Kane wasn't playing, Kane was dropping back a bit, Son would have stuck up to the top and played on the last man or played on the left wing or something like that.
Do you mean if we had Son instead of Kane or Son with Kane?
No, instead of. I know that kind of Son replaces Kane when Kane is out.
So Son would have played
but
up front.
Maybe the tactics would have been a bit different.
But Son would have played up front.
He would have played up front, but he wouldn't have been dropping as deep as Kane was.
I think he would have, and I tell you why. Because I think in pre-season, when Son plays up front, he's taking a bit more responsibility now, and not just threatening him behind, but also coming into play. And we saw that in pre-season. All those games he played up front, the amount of times he was coming deeper and just playing into play and stuff like that. I think he still would have come back. I don't think he would have just always been on the last shoulder.
I don't think as much as Kane would have done, though.
But I think Kane
I still think we would have had more threat going forward with Son on the pitch.
I agree with you. I think we would have had more threat in that game. But for example, in a different game, different games have different scenarios, don't they? And they pose different problems. So I don't know. It's difficult. I think there's a good argument to say Son is more important than Kane, but I still think Kane's a better player. I think Kane still has more to his game than Son.
I really don't think you can split it. I think it's really hard to, because yes, we can say Son is more important to us than Harry Kane. Our attack looks more fluid when he's on the pitch, but then again, look how Kane inputs into the team since he's joined us. You know what I mean? Pretty much. I mean, this absolute world-class player, and you can't say that without his goals. Yes, he assisted many to Son last season. Son assisted many to him last season, but Kane would have still produced. He still produces big numbers every year, regardless of Son.
Yeah, and would if say Kane sold and we just had Son, right? Would Son be able to carry that burden that Kane carries? I don't know. I'm very doubtful he would. But yes, he steps up when Kane is out, right? But it's always over a 2-3 month period, whatever. Fair enough, he does step up and he does bang in a decent amount of goals. But if you're relying on Son for a whole season, would I back him to get Kane numbers? I don't know. I really don't know.
Maybe not, but it's a difficult one.
I really don't think...
You might not back him to get Kane numbers, but maybe the attack will be a bit more fluid and other people will be nicking in with other stuff.
I think actually that would be easy to figure out if we just had Son, because Kane can drop deep, and when Kane drops deep, in theory, when other players are filling around, it allows players to... I think we're more unpredictable with Kane, actually, than with Son. Because with Son, all you know, if you restrict him with space, he's going to be a lot less effective. Yes, he's got a very good shot outside the box, but he doesn't have what Kane has in terms of, first of all, his passing range, and so to drop deep, and then it makes defenses think a different way, and also his physicality. So if crosses in the box, Kane is more likely to score headers and stuff like that. He's more likely to hold off players on the edge of the box to get a shot away and things like that. That's why I think we become a bit more unpredictable. I think Kane provides a bit of unpredictability in that sense up front, whereas Son, I feel like if he's not running in behind and getting on the end of stuff, he can be very ineffective. He's not. If you restrict him with that space, if you just hang back and restrict him with space, yes, I'm sure he'll get goals. I'm sure he'll definitely, because he's such a good finisher, he can score from a lot of angles. But I think he'll be a lot easier to stop, and it is easier to stop Kane.
But with Son's sheer space and sheer trickery and you know, his absolute direct thinking, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I think
not everyone's going to give us as much pace as Man City give us. You know what I mean? That's
yeah,
when
I
he
know
looks
that.
at his best.
Yeah, I know that. But you know, against Crystal Palace, we had enough space there where Son could have exploited. We had more
in
than
that
enough
game.
space.
In that game, yeah. But I'm saying different games pose different. That's what I'm saying. It depends what game you're talking. Like each game is different, so it's not like each game's going to be the same. And Son's always going to be more important than Kane, or Kane's always going to be more important than Son. It depends what the situation calls for. Some situations Kane is more important to have, and some situations Son's more important to have.
In my opinion, I think they're just as important as each other. I really think
that's reality.
That's the reality.
Yeah,
they are just as important as each other. We need both of them. And you know, not many teams in the Premier League have such two star quality players going forward. Obviously, you've got the top four sides with Manchester United, Ronaldo, and what have you. You got Liverpool. I think I would prefer Kane and Son rather than Salah and Mane, for sure.
Difficult one.
That's my opinion. I'd rather Kane and Son than Salah and Mane.
Yeah.
I think Mane. Mane is a great player. I think he's drifted off a tiny bit to what he used to be. But Salah's still at top of his game, I think.
There's a few things. Someone in the comments, Titundenda Jakazi says, Son struggles against compact defences. Cyprus Spurs says, Simmate. Kane is not as important for us as Son. Where was the other one? HB, let's see if Sim still has the same opinion against Chelsea if Son isn't playing. And you know what? I think Son is probably more important in that game because he's the one, because we're going to be doing a lot of defending and we're going to need an out ball. And in that game, Son probably, you can argue Son is more important.
Yeah, we need Kane to play the out ball though.
Exactly, that's the truth. We do need Kane to play the out ball. That's also the truth. And also, you know, yes, we were not a threat in behind with Kane, but you know, you got to think of who was around Kane. You know, Dele wasn't doing any running. Lucas, we know, doesn't like to run in behind so much. And who was playing him the passes? Winks, Skip, Højbjerg, who are not the most progressive passers. They're not the most forward-thinking players. So I think he was hampered, and I also think Son. I reckon if Son would have played, I reckon he would have had one or two opportunities, a bit like against Wolves, right, where we were hampered in that game because we pretty much weren't much of a threat against Wolves, right? But Son did get away like once or twice, and he should have scored. I remember that chance in the second half where he got away once, and I reckon the same would have happened against Palace. We would have been probably still not a threat, but he would have had those one or two chances which we didn't have against Palace to be in a threat. But I don't think it's a situation where having Son completely changes us. I still think we would have struggled yesterday on Saturday, even with Son on the pitch.
I think we would have got a goal though. I genuinely believe.
I reckon we would have got a chance. Is whether he would have taken it.
Yeah, he would have taken it. It's just
he didn't take it against Wolves. He didn't take it against Wolves. That's my point.
Son?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he took it every other game this season.
Well, he didn't. Those were really half chances.
World-class goal against Watford from a free kick.
What a chance. I'm saying, but the goal against
Sonny against Man City as well. That's a killer blow.
But that wasn't like a chance. You know what I mean? He did really well to get a shot and got a goal because he's a world-class player.
He'll do that.
But I'm saying it's not. I'm saying he would have got still would have got very few chances against Palace.
Yeah, but he's that good and that quick. He could have created his own chances, like you just said, and I think he would have done.
I don't think he would have created the amount of chances that would have made a big difference in that game. I still
all
think
he needs is one chance and he can score a goal.
Yeah, but my point is the reason why the team struggled on Saturday was bigger than having Son out.
Well, like we keep saying, the reason we struggled is because of the way Nuno set up the team. But I think if Son was in the team, we still would have created chances. And I do think we would have got a better result. I genuinely would have got a better result if Son was playing.
I disagree. I feel instead of Kane.
Yeah,
I don't disagree. I really strongly disagree because I think that the way that our team was set up, we might have got a goal. But I still think we would have struggled badly. Really badly with the setup of the team. I think he might have got a goal because with his pace, there's always a chance he can get away from a defender and get a goal. But I think because of how our midfield was and how we were set up, and because as well, you got to remember against City, right? It was Bergwijn, Son, and Lucas, three runners who every time they got the ball, they were making Man City think, and they were giving us a lot of space. Against Palace, Against Palace, it would have been very, very different situation. Dele wasn't stretching defence as much. He wasn't carrying the ball as much as a Bergwijn was, and so that's already a kind of an attacker who's going to hold us back a bit. And then you got Son there, and he might have got 1 or 2 opportunities, but if he doesn't take them, I still think we lose.
Yeah, but it's still 1 or 2 opportunities more than we had, and so it gives us more of a chance of getting anything than we did. I
agree. I agree. We would have more of a chance, but I still think we would have struggled. Is my point. I still think we would have struggled.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do agree with that. Let's get through some super chats. There are quite a few to get through. The first one from Craig Silver saying, "Feel for Nuno, a fan base which feels like it's been in a loveless marriage for many years and have no interest in seeing new processes. 4 points out of 6 in the next 2, and muzzles bent on your engagement." Thank you very much, Craig. But back on your point, I mean, it does feel like that a bit. A fan base been in a loveless relationship for a good few years, doesn't it, Sim?
Yeah, that's the truth. Ever since peak Pochettino, isn't it? We've kind of just it feels like there hasn't been that connection. And look, let's be honest, when Nuno first came in, first 3 games, he was trying to build that again. And I think, let's not, we can't go overboard because it's only 1 defeat, and we had, at the end of the day, we have had 3 wins out of 3. So you don't want to go overboard, but there were some worrying signs yesterday, and there has been a worrying trend even since the start of the season, just how we've played, and we'll go into that in a bit. We'll talk about why I think it's a bit worrying and something we have to address, but we need to get that connection back with the fans and the players, and we started to build that, but we can't put in those kind of performances like we did yesterday, otherwise it will just erode again.
Finessa7 saying, "We should have sold Kane. We've delayed our rebuild." And bring him home with the big super chat. So thank you very much for that. Saying, "Whatever. Hope Sonny to get back to the pitch soon." And I think we all think like that because, at the end of the day, no matter who's more important, we need both of them on the pitch. That's the truth of the matter, isn't it?
Definitely. And Fitness 7, do you see that? Finessa 7, sorry.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I still don't agree with that. I actually felt a bit sorry for Kane yesterday on Saturday because, you just know even in a Man City, let's say Man City had the same injury problem Spurs had. Yes, on Saturday, they're still going to dominate the ball. They're still going to play the majority of the game in the Palace half. And Kane isn't going to have to work tooth and nail to just get a literal touch on the ball. That's what I felt like. Kane had to run himself on the ground, literally just to get a touch of the ball, and just to control the ball and hold off a defender on the halfway line and get a pass off. He had to work so hard. Whereas if he was playing for Man City, even if he had all his injuries, doesn't matter who's on the pitch, they still played the same way. And that's why that's what I was thinking about Harry Kane yesterday, what he must have been thinking with the lack of quality that was around him. And I just don't think keeping Kane, you say we delayed our rebuild, but we were struggling to get the players we wanted through the door anyway. Even if we would have sold Kane, there was no one to really get this summer that would have adequately replaced him and rebuilt. So I think we did the right things. I think if we can get the money in next summer and then rebuild, we could be in a better position.
Yeah, I mean, these first few games of the season since Kane has played, I don't think the work rate is as high as it has been last season and the season before, and before all this exit talk has been happening. I do think the work rate has gone down a bit. Maybe it's not intentionally, maybe it's unintentionally, but I do think it has gone down a bit. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what people in the comment section think. I don't know what you think, but
I think he's wrong. I think he's working. I see a player who's working very hard. Personally,
just because he's working very hard, it doesn't mean the work rate is as much as it was.
What do you mean?
Just because he is working very hard, everyone can accept, he's working hard. It doesn't mean the work rate is as high as it was last season, the season before.
I don't see a difference.
I see a difference. I do see a difference. I think that he's not he's not going full pelt that like he has been last season.
You saw the booking
before.
he got against Watford, putting in challenges and stuff, putting in slide tackles.
Yeah.
I think he's still putting himself about, and he's still working very, 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 very hard. And I think it's very easy for people to look at him, and because he hasn't scored a couple of goals, and because it wasn't the best performances, and the team wasn't playing the best way, and it's like, he's not in, his heart's not in it. I think it's just a very easy conclusion, in my opinion.
It's not an easy conclusion, because you can look at with your eyes and you can see on the pitch how he's running about a bit, but he's nowhere near going full pelt like he was last season. Nowhere near. I'm not saying he's not trying or anything. I'm just saying that his work rate isn't as high as it was last season.
I think it is. That's my opinion. I think it's just a very easy conclusion to make. That's why, and I don't think that bears out when I think it's just easy to say when he hasn't scored. It's just an easy thing to say when he hasn't scored and had a good game. It's like, he's not working as hard, or he's not going full pelt like he did last season. I
it's nothing to do with him not scoring. It's looking at him on the football pitch. That's what it's to do with.
I think I take your point, and I didn't have a good game on Saturday, but no one had a good game. So I don't know, unless you're saying everyone also is not going full pelt like they were last season. I don't know.
No one else was going full pelt last season apart from Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. I'm talking about specifically about Harry Kane.
I know, but I don't know. I didn't see that.
All right.
I didn't see that.
Any more? No. Let's bring up the results of the poll. 468 votes. Heung-min Son has won this by an absolute landslide. Let's just get the results up. Just 1 second. Just takes us. Oh, there we go. 59% for Heung-min Son, 29% for equal importance, and 11% for Harry Kane. Is that recency bias?
Yeah, I think it's definitely recency bias. Kane he hasn't scored yet this season. Son obviously scored two winners. So I think it is a bit of recency bias, and we look so poor without Son on Saturday as well. I think that definitely contributes. But look, there is a good case for it. There's a very good case for it, and I acknowledge that. In terms of in those kind of games, I think yesterday he would have been more important to us, Sonny. I do agree with that. So in that case, yeah, and we'll see. But over a course of a season, I guess it remains to be seen. I don't know. I think Kane might still edge it.
Yeah, and HB says 59% are Koreans in the chat.
Yeah, maybe.
And we got a few super chats. Go on, you go for it.
Jerome says, I get what Ben is saying. Kane does not seem hungry anymore. Kane of old would try anything to get a shot on goal, even if he is being selfish. And then YP Tourette says, Nuno should find a way to bring the best out of them. I think Nuno not knowing how to use Kane is impacting Kane. That's the thing what I'm saying about Kane. He wasn't in a position to even get close to goal, and that wasn't completely his fault.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is he supposed to do? Is just shoot from the halfway line where he had majority of the ball?
He's done it
know
before.
what I mean? He has done it before. Yeah, he has done it before. But I don't know. I think people are reading too much into just a couple of bad games, saying that's it. He's not in it anymore. I think it's too easy to read that.
No one's saying that. No one's saying he's not in it anymore. No one's saying that. I never said that.
You said he's not full pelt like he was last season.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't mean he's not in it anymore. I still think he's working hard and working hard to a level. I just don't think the levels of work rate he was at for the last 3 seasons was absolutely insane. No one could work harder than him. It's not possible to work harder than him. But right now, I do think it's possible to work harder than him.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not so sure that's true. I think he's still working very hard. Like I said, I'm not saying he's not, but I'm saying that his levels have slightly dropped. I'm not saying that he's not working hard. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that his levels have dropped from last season. It's 4 games in.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm saying. I'm judging it on the 3 games he's played, or however many it's played. Is it 2 or 3?
Yeah, against. All right, fine. Okay, that's it.
All right, let's move on. Let's start talking about this.
Kev Williams says, Winks in the starting 11. Winks weakens the team. Dye injured early on meant we had to bring on an unfit Rodon. Injuries, quarantine, Palace revelling in it. Fine. Yeah, it's true. Rodon was unfit, but he's still good. I still think he played well. So I don't think having Rodon on the pitch hurt us. It was just... that wasn't hurt us. I think what really hurt us was, first of all, the setup of the team and the red card. That's what killed the game for us.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next topic that we're going to talk about today, and that is this creative block we've got in our team. Sim, you've got some stats.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at, people saying you shouldn't go overboard after one defeat, and that's absolutely right, because we've had 3 wins out of 4 games, of very testing circumstances for Nuno, and he's done well to get the level of performance and the results he's been getting so far. But it's not, for me, when you read these stats, I think it's easy to say that this result had been coming. And it's not, and just because we've got good results doesn't mean there aren't issues that we shouldn't address and look into and look to improve on. And I think these stats, I know it's a small sample size, only 4 games of the season, but it's important to see how we've been playing in general over those 4 games. And look, if you drill into the stats, you can see there are glaring problems that we have to sort out before we can start moving forward.
Yeah, and it's called not replacing Christian Eriksen.
Yeah, I mean, there are just big problems. There's no point saying, "Oh, give Nuno a break." It's, he's won 3 games out of 4. No need to go panic, which is true. You don't want to panic, but you want to.
You need to look at the bigger picture.
You can't. You also have to look at things where you can improve, and you have to also spot things which are clearly an issue, and where everyone has seen, even before yesterday, have seen that these things have been an issue before the game.
Especially Saturday, you're going into half time with everyone in that stadium could see issues. Everyone in that stadium could see issues, and it seemed like Nuno didn't even have a plan B or anything.
And Saturday basically exacerbated and showed for everyone to see how bad these issues really are. Because I think there maybe, the Watford result put a plaster over it, the Wolves result put a plaster over it, but now the plaster's off and we're leaking blood.
Exactly.
In terms of shot-creating actions, these are passes, shots, or dribbles that lead to a shot on goal. We are 18th in the league. 18th in the league. Shot-creating actions against. So these are shot-creating passes, dribbles, or shots against us that lead to a shot. We're the 4th most. We concede the 4th most. Progressive passes, we are 13th in the league. Progressive carries, so these are carries which a player carrying the ball with his feet 5 yards towards the goal, in the direction of the goal, 16th in the league. Progressive distance carried, so the total distance that we have players who have carried the ball within 5 yards towards the ball, 17th in the league. And here's the worst one: progressive carries and progressive distance carried against Tottenham. We've conceded the 3rd most. So teams love to carry the ball towards our goal, the 3rd highest in the league. For Spurs, progressive carries into the penalty area. So the amount of times we've carried the ball into the box, 16th in the league. Carries into the penalty area against Spurs, 2nd highest. We've conceded the 2nd highest in the league. We've attempted the 3rd most dribbles, yet successful dribbles with 17th. So we attempt a lot of dribbles. We're actually successful in very few. And here's the worst one for me: dribbles attempted against Spurs. We've conceded the 7th highest, right? But successful dribbles total, we've conceded the most.
But having said all that, we don't concede that many chances, do we?
Well, you say that. Lloris has made the most saves in the league.
But none of them have been like
XG,
great saves.
XG, we've conceded the 5th highest.
Yeah.
So we actually are conceding quite not the
Who
most.
are the 4 teams higher than us?
Huh?
Who are the 4 teams higher than us?
I can tell you that. Understand. One sec.
But the stats are very worrying.
They're not
very
great.
worrying. They really are.
The 4 teams higher than us. Oh, after yesterday, it's a bit. There's a few more teams now. This was before.
Arsenal are top.
So Arsenal are the top of the there's Arsenal, Newcastle, Leeds, Norwich, and Leicester, and then Spurs, who are in terms of chances, quality of chances
And
we're
who are
conceding.
the bottom 5?
Man City, Everton, Brentford, and Liverpool.
And Palace.
Expected goals against, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult.
It's a small sample size.
It's difficult to get a whole kind of opinion on it just based on the stats, isn't it? But Lloris. But wait a sec, Lloris, has made the highest amount of saves in the league, but you would still, on the eye test, you would still say that we haven't conceded that many big chances this season.
No, we haven't. We have, except for maybe against Wolves, we were quite lucky not to concede. Against Man City, yeah, I think we defended very well. Against Watford, we didn't concede any chances. But also yesterday, the best chance before the red card went to Palace when Lloris saved it.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
So we're not. I don't think we've been. Look, I'm not criticising our defence at all.
I think we've been defensively solid.
We have been defensively solid, but the stats bear out that we still conceded quite a few chances. It's not like we conceded nothing. Dribbles. So teams attempt the 7th most dribbles against Tottenham, but have been successful the most times. So there's a dribble success rate against Spurs of 66%. Which is ridiculously high in my opinion. It means it just goes to show that when especially in the midfield area, we do struggle to stop those kind of dribbles getting past. Our shots per 90 minutes, we're 17th in the league.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that. I'm surprised we're even that high.
Here's a bad one. For presses, we've pressed the opposition the 5th most amount of times. Yet our pressing success percentage we're bottom.
Wow.
We're bottom of the league for successful percentage presses. So we're not very
that's exactly
good at
what
pressing.
we were saying after the Palace game, how we was pressing so stupidly.
What we're top of the league for, we have the most blocks of block shots, we have the most interception in the league, and the most blocked passes
all
in the
those
league.
blocks probably all came against Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
we blocked
probably.
so many shots that game.
We did. Tackles in midfield, we're 3rd in the league. We're top of the league for tackles and interceptions. But here's an interesting one. Presses against Tottenham, we're 19th, so we're second least pressed against team. However, pressed against Tottenham's midfield 3rd, we're 1st. So teams really target our midfield 3. This pressing in the middle of the park because they know they've got a good chance of pinching the ball off us if they press us in the middle. Goes to show for me, these stats show a real problem in the midfield. First of all, to carry the ball beyond the opposition's midfield 3, to stop the opposition from dribbling into dangerous zones, and when we're pressed in the midfield, to be able to play out that press and how we're able to withstand that. These are glaring issues which we have solutions for on the bench, ready and waiting to come on and affect these issues that we're having. But these stats for me, it's only 4 games, so you can't make a complete sweeping judgment. But for me, it's still a clear issue that needs addressing.
Yes, it's a clear issue that needs addressing, but because it's only 4 games into the season, all these are very fine lines. You know what I mean? So one or more, one or less in any of the stats that you've brought out, we could go very high up the table or very low into the table just because of the nature how early on it is in the season.
Potentially, but we're so low and such consistent stats, so for me, it shows a problem.
Yeah,
if it's like up and down in different stats, you could say like, okay, maybe it's not a consistent issue because we'll see how it goes after a few more games. But if you're literally consistently at the bottom, near the bottom of the league for all these similar things, that does just shows you after 4 games there is definitely an issue. So definitely creatively,
after Chelsea, it's going to be even worse. We're going to be even lower.
Probably. And look, it's 4 games, so Nuno's still working on these things. But it just goes to show, even with the 3 wins, there's clearly issues we can point to and say that this needs addressing, otherwise we're going to get found out. And I think on Saturday we were found out a bit, and we need to make sure that we address these issues sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we're going to become very predictable and very easy to play against again. And that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I mean, this was always going to be a transitional season, though, wasn't it? Nuno's first season, he's only 4 games in. I mean, are we reading a bit too much into it just because it is his first 4 games of his Tottenham career, and we always knew this was going to be a transitional season?
We're reading too much into it, but we're reading what we're seeing.
Yeah.
This is what we're seeing. We're not very good at carrying the ball at the moment. We're not very good. We're being pressed a lot in our midfield 3, and we're not able to handle it. We're not able. The midfield is not able to progress the ball and carry the ball into the opposition penalty area. These are just quite obvious things that not only does the stats bear this out, right? We've seen it on the pitch. The eye test bears that out, right? Everyone can see. Well, not anyone has drilled in. I'm the only one who's drilled into these stats. No one else. Everyone else is saying on the pitch we lack creativity. Yeah. We're not a threat. This is without drilling into the stats, and all the stats are doing are backing that up. All the stats are doing is showing it's clear. For clear as day for anyone to see, this is the truth. And people, you can say I'm going overboard and whatever, which is true. I probably shouldn't be I shouldn't be taking these stats as gospel and say, oh, look at these stats, clearly we're doing a bad job.
It's backed up by the eye
but
test.
But we can see that on the pitch. Everyone and their dog can see on the pitch we lack creativity. We're not enough for
Even
any
everyone's
opposition.
dog can see it.
We can see it. This is not news to anyone. This is not news to. This is not breaking news that we're struggling for creativity. All I'm saying is the stats back up what we're seeing on the pitch. That we're really struggling to hurt the opposition, ask questions on the opposition's defences, and these are certain reasons. And the midfield.
The key to this is Tanguy Ndombele. Surely, that's got to be the key to this problem, because he's the one that can get that ball. Or Lo Celso, but I think when you compare the two players, for me, Tanguy Ndombele has showed more in a creative role than Lo Celso has shown for me. And I think Tanguy Ndombele is the player in our squad that's got that X factor, that can find that ball from deep, that can beat a few men and really, really create chances for us from absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. He's the one. So for me, I think he is the key to our problems. He really is.
Yeah, hopefully. It could be a blessing in disguise, the fact we didn't get rid of him, and hopefully he can come back into the team.
Can you imagine if we did get rid of him?
Yeah, we'd be screwed.
Can you imagine that?
We
would have brought one in. We would have brought one in, surely, if we would have got rid of him.
I bloody hope so. But yeah, look, that's all I'm saying. Like, of course, there is way too much to read into these stats to make sweeping judgments. But all I'm saying is people will be making sweeping judgments on our creativity before I looked into these stats. Everyone's saying the midfield three needs creativity. Skip, Højbjerg and Dele are not doing enough on the ball quality-wise.
Which is true, yeah.
Which is true. And the stats show they're not.
Yeah.
So what am I supposed to say?
What I'm saying is after 4 games, in Nuno's first season in charge after 4 games, do we need to get worried about these stats?
No,
just 'cause it's 4 games.
You don't need to get worried about it. All it's saying is there's an issue with the teams. The stats also back up there's an issue with the team, and Nuno has to work out how to solve these issues. Otherwise, we're going to become predictable. And it's nothing to say that Nuno can't figure out, or we need Nuno out. All this. No, anyone who says Nuno out or anything like that is complete rubbish and an idiot, basically, at this point. All I'm saying is these issues in the team are there. They're not made up. They're not something that people are saying that people are just making up in their heads that we have these issues. People aren't going overboard if they say that this result had been coming, because I did think it had been coming, and everyone could see that we were struggling in certain areas, and the results maybe we didn't. The performances didn't necessarily match up the results.
3 goals wasn't coming. I'll tell you that.
That wasn't coming, no. But that only happened because of the red card.
A negative result was coming.
The 3 goals conceded only happened because of the red card. If it was no red card, it either would have been either a 0-0 draw or 1-0 either way. Either we would have got a late goal or they could have got a late goal. That's what would have happened. It wouldn't have been any more than that. But a negative result was easy to predict to coming up.
Let me get through some of these super chats. We got one from Jerome saying it's not just replacing Eriksen. We did not replace Dembele and Trippier. We lack 2 or 3 players with that killer touch and pass. What do you make out of that one?
Yeah, that's true. And that's why Kane has shouldered that extra responsibility, because no one else is really providing that final pass with any real quality that Eriksen used to do. But also, Dembele and Trippier. We never replaced Trippier. Hopefully now with Emerson we'll see what happens, but it wasn't the best debut. But look, we'll give him time. And Moussa Dembele was supposed to, look, in defence of that, Ndombele was supposed to be his replacement. It hasn't quite worked out yet, but if he can step up, he can be that guy, hopefully.
He's got the quality to be. He definitely got the quality to be. We just need him to marry that with that mentality.
But it's true. We since Moussa Dembele has left, we have had a bit of a hole in that centre, which hasn't been filled yet. Hopefully, Højbjerg is also going away to fill that as well. Finessa7
says Harry Kane's game will suffer a lot now. The referees are letting the games flow. A big part of his game was going down and winning us cheap fouls.
That's interesting. He did go down a couple times yesterday, and the ref didn't give the decision. I thought that was a bit pointless, but I don't know. I think he's a strong boy, Harry. I don't think that will affect it too much. All right,
let's move on. Let's talk about what we think our best starting 11 is, our best Tottenham starting 11 moving forward for the season. And this is kind of like, I wouldn't say on form, I would think we should do this based on who we think our best player is in each position and if they can work with each other and blah, blah, blah. So obviously, we're going to be a 4-3-3 formation this season. So we're going to do it based on that. In goal has got to be Hugo Lloris, obviously.
Of course.
Right back, the best right back in the squad as of now. It's got to be Emerson, doesn't it? I mean,
Well,
Tanganga potentially.
Yeah, but look, hopefully once Emerson gets acclimatised, he'll improve. It wasn't the best performance on his debut, but I can take that point. But I also think that before the red card, I don't think it was terrible. I think he got spun one time by Zaha, and then once the red card happened, he was pretty much hung out to dry, and it was a very, very difficult day for him. And I'm not, but obviously he did struggle, so you can't say anything about that. But I'm hoping if we have Emerson and Reguilon as offensive fullbacks in going forward, hopefully we can make that work somehow.
Yeah. So the fullbacks, obviously, Emerson, Reguilon.
Yeah.
Got to say that. Centre back, this is where it gets a bit sticky. I mean, we've got Dyer, Sanchez, and Romero, and Tanganga.
And Rodon.
And Rodon. Which Tanganga and Rodon actually had brilliant games against Crystal Palace, no matter what happened in terms of the sending off and what have you. And actually, Rodon, there were some clips doing the rounds on Twitter how he was like out of position for both of our goals. But I don't buy into that because, everyone was kind of everywhere.
And also, we're 2-0 down to 10 men. We're looking for a goal. These things just happen when you're late in the game like that. Yeah, it was a bit disorganised, but the game was done by then. It wasn't like, it was 2-0 with the literally last kick of the game. We're down to 10 men. So to blame Rodon for that was, I thought, very harsh.
So you would say Romero has got to go in there as one of the centre-backs.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
The other one is between Dyer and Sanchez, pretty much.
I think the way Sanchez has started the season, I'd go for him.
And, Dyer started the season pretty good as well.
I know, but I think Sanchez has been such a beast.
Dyer was in the nominations for Player of the Month last month.
I disagree with that. I think it should have been Sanchez.
Yeah, I said that as well.
I think it should have been Sanchez.
I said that as well in the Tottenham update, but it was Dyer. It wasn't Sanchez. I think both of them have been brilliant so far this season. You've got to say that.
I agree. But I think if I'm picking one to partner Romero, I'd pick Sanchez. That's who I'd pick.
I would agree. So fine. So we're going to go for Lloris in goal, Emerson right back, Reguilon left back, Romero and Sanchez in the centre back positions. Now the midfield three is where it gets interesting. I mean, me personally, my midfield three would be Skip furthest back, Højbjerg alongside Ndombele. What would yours be?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Honestly, it's because it kind of just depends who you're playing. But I think in a perfect world, I would want Højbjerg, Lo Celso and Ndombele in a perfect world. That's my three. I would want Højbjerg covering the defensive responsibilities, playing a bit of a deeper role, and then Lo Celso playing a bit of a box-to-box role, and then you got Ndombele there, kind of being that creative spark. However, we don't live in a perfect world, and whether
no, we really don't.
Whether Højbjerg, Lo Celso, and Ndombele provides enough cover for Nuno's liking in the midfield three remains to be seen. So having said that, I think our strongest three at the moment, I think Lo Celso would just about pip Ndombele for me. As much as I think Ndombele is probably a better player or has a bit more quality, I think what Lo Celso brings to the team, he may be a bit less creatively, but I do think he provides enough steel to just about counterbalance that, and enough creativity in the team and enough attacking ability that that could be the perfect three for me.
So you're saying Højbjerg, Skip and Lo
Celso.
Ooh, and I'm saying Højbjerg, Skip and Ndombele. I think this calls for a poll.
Ndombele or Lo Celso?
I think this calls for a poll to see who gets that third midfield spot. 1 second, guys.
But what I would say is if Ndombele does get back to his best and is in full flight, then he probably does get that spot. But I think right now I'd give it to Lo Celso.
But that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming these players are on form. You know what I mean? I'm not assuming because I said just before we started it, we got to take like their best versions of themselves, kind of thing.
I still think I'd pick Lo Celso just about. As much as I think Tongi might be a better player on the ball.
Well, let's get through the other spots in the team, then we'll revisit that in the poll. Left-hand side, obviously, Heung-min Son. Up top, obviously, Harry Kane. And right-hand side, Lucas Moura, right?
Yes.
Or would you stick Bergwijn in there somewhere? Or?
I think that's our best three. And I think Bergwijn coming in as well, and you got Gil there, and I think it is our best three.
Okay, so we're going for a team of Lloris in goal, Reguilon left back, Emerson right back, Sanchez and Romero in the centre back positions, Skip in the CDM, Højbjerg, and then a question mark, and then Son, Kane, and Mora. I mean, it seems like it picks itself, doesn't it? This team,
Pretty much.
Strength and depth after that, it's just not great, really, is it?
Yeah, I mean, centre back positions, you've got like Diane Roden, that's not terrible, but then other positions, you've got Davis or Sessegnon coming in at the left back, who haven't done great. You've got Winks, you've got either Ndombele or Lo Celso in the centre mid positions, and then up front you got like Bergwijn and Gil coming in, and like on paper it's like it's not terrible, but it's like when you're comparing it to the depth of our competitors, it's just not.
Apart from Liverpool, really, I don't think Liverpool's depth is any good this season.
Yeah, it's not. They'd like to have a tiny squad,
To be honest, though, are they even our rivals this season?
No, not well. They have to be.
Who are our rivals this season?
West Ham, Arsenal, Leicester. Not Arsenal. West Ham, Leicester.
That's what I say. Arsenal.
West Ham, Leicester, and we're pretty much challenging for fifth with Leicester. Leicester. Who else is there challenging?
So Leicester are our rivals this season.
Who else are we challenging for? Who else?
You got to put West Ham in
Everton,
there.
I think.
Put West Ham, Everton. Those three teams really.
Yeah, challenging with them.
All right, well, let's end the poll. 119 votes, 62% for Ndombele and 38% for Giovanni Lo Celso. So Ndombele does get into that middle three. And I do think that is a very good starting 11. I do believe that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that starting 11 in
it should be able to challenge for top four, that 11.
Yeah, if it was just starting 11s, well, to be honest, it would still probably be the fifth best starting 11 in the league.
Probably would be, but I still think we can challenge for the top four.
Yeah, if that 11 was fit all season, probably. But unfortunately, football's not played on paper, is it?
No, but you would say that the team that are going to finish fourth, you can probably put Liverpool there or whoever. We'll say Liverpool there.
Our top four is so strong, man.
It is.
So it's ridiculous.
If you put Liverpool there for argument's sake, I mean, how do we stack up against Liverpool's strongest 11 in a 4-3-3?
I still think we're lacking.
What, majorly lacking?
I would say so. Because Alisson,
defense is much better.
Trent, Van Dijk, Robertson,
Matip, Konate,
or Gomez, still unbelievable. Midfield three of our midfield three could probably compete in terms of personnel. You got Henderson. Harvey Elliott was injured now. We got Naby Keita. You got what's his name? Who else they have in their midfield three? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Because didn't they? I
thought Wijnaldum was a big miss for them.
He's a great player, Wijnaldum, but
Wijnaldum's a big miss for them.
Who was also midfield three? They got Thiago, Fabinho. Okay,
Thiago was brilliant.
Thiago, Fabinho. He walks into our team. Thiago probably walks into our team. Then the third one is Naby Keita or Henderson or Chamberlain. These are players easily in our squad.
And got a much better squad than us.
They do, and then up front three of Mane, Salah, and either Jota or Firmino. I mean, Mane and Salah walks into our team. Mane is on par with Son, and then Jota or Kane. And you probably pick Kane. So the front three on paper is mixed bag. But I still think you probably, as a unit, you might still prefer Liverpool's front three, just as how they work in tandem with each other. I don't know.
All right, that is the strongest Spurs 11 this season. Bob Spur TV with a super chat. Big up, Bob. Legends, what's happening now is what I anticipated. Kane could simply be going through a poor phase, but his summer actions has allowed some fans, rightly or wrongly, to question his commitment. Big up.
Yeah, that's what I agree with Bob there. I think that's the position he put himself in with his actions, and every bad performance now is people's going to say, "Oh, he's not committed." There will be fans who say like he's either he's not up to it anymore, or he's subconsciously not with it, or he's all this kind of stuff. And I think these are conclusions that are simple, but can easily happen. So I think Kane has to take responsibility for that, and he has to take responsibility
on the pitch
for getting his performances back to a level or back up to scratch where they were last season, up to stop any sort of questions. And I don't think he could have done much on Saturday. I really don't, because I just think it was a team effort, and he can't just do it alone. And he needs help from the team. But unless he starts banging the goals again, people will still are going to question it until he scores.
Yeah, definitely. And let's just take you on a bit of a loan watch, see how our players are getting on so far on their loan moves. Let's start off with Cameron Carter-Vickers, who played in a 3-0 win for Celtic over the weekend, played 90 minutes and scored a goal, and apparently he played brilliantly as well. So bring Carter-Vickers back, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. We need him. Someone to score. Could have been a threat from set pieces if you have Carter-Vickers.
Papa Sarr played for Metz in a 2-0 loss to Troyes this weekend, played 90 minutes. And already this season he's been used as a wide forward. He's been used as a box-to-box player. He's been used as a deep-lying midfielder as well. So it really does show his kind of versatility. And he's played 5 games in the league with 1 assist, 3 games in the cup with 1 goal. So it seems as though Papa Sarr has had a good start to the season. Alfie Whiteman played this weekend in a 4-1 loss against Kalmar. He's played 2 games this season, and his 2 games he's played this season are a 2-0 loss and a 4-1 loss.
Oh, great.
So he's shipped in a lot of goals this season, Alfie Whiteman, already.
Oh, dear.
Some good news, though, with Troy Parrott. He played on the weekend in a 1-0 win against MK Dons, playing 90 minutes. He's started 6 games this season, scoring 2 goals. So he's had...
and 2 assists, I believe, as well.
And 2 assists, yeah, you're right. 2 assists as well. So he's actually had a much better loan spell already this year than both of his loan spells last season.
Yeah, and he also started for Ireland and during the international break as well. So looks like he's starting to go back on the positive trajectory now.
Yeah, and back on actually Papa Sarr as well. He's actually starting for Senegal. He's starting for Senegal. He started 2 of the games for Senegal, I think, 1 in a deeper position and 1 in a more attacking position. So it really does seem we've got a proper player in our hands. This guy at such a young age in the Senegal team, in the Senegal starting 11, and also obviously starting week in, week out in the French in top division. Mm-hmm. Next up is Keon Etete. He played 60 minutes in Northampton's 1-0 loss to Forest Green. And he's had a pretty good start to his loan spell at Northampton. Scored 2 goals on his debut, but actually hasn't scored since then. 2 cup games, 2 goals, 5 league games, 0 goals. But he does seem to be playing well over there, albeit got taken off after 60 minutes this weekend. Jamie Bowden on loan at Oldham was starring in a 4-0 loss against Leyton Orient this weekend, playing 90 minutes. He's had 3 games and 0 goals. And last but not least, Janil Bennett, famous for scoring that first goal in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, played in a 1-1 draw for Crewe against Shrewsbury, and it was his debut, playing 90 minutes, and apparently he had a good game as well. So that is our kind of loan watch. It's not the kind of extensive loans that we had last season, but it's also good it's definitely good to keep an eye on the likes of Troy Parrott, Papa Sarr, Keon Etete.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully they make the most of those loan spells and players we can use in the future. In terms of like Bowden and stuff, I don't know. He's been around for a while now, so I feel like we'll probably just game out alone with a view to maybe sell him. But yeah, hopefully other players we can definitely.
Jamie Bowden, 20 years old, and at 20 years old, if you're only going to a club like Oldham, then yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's probably difficult to see a pathway for him. There's been a bit of news coming out of from Dan Kilpatrick saying there was growing hope, however, that Son and Bergwijn could be fit for the visit of Chelsea on Sunday. That's positive. He did an article about the defeat on Saturday. Within the article it says there's growing hope that Son and Bergwijn could be fit for the visit on Chelsea. And we need them. We need both of them, I think.
Yeah, we need both of them, to be fair. We do.
So that's a bit of positive news coming out, and hopefully we can make. Hopefully they will be fit, and we'll have some sort of bullets to put in the gun, as Mourinho would say, for the visit of Chelsea. Yeah. And then also someone put a pass map. I don't know where this is from, but this is comparing Conor Gallagher to Winks. Winks made 4 forward passes. Not even. How many? 2 forward passes. No. So, wow. How many forward passes? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 during the whole game. Wow. And Conor Gallagher was a lot more ambitious with his passing.
Well, he got 2 assists.
He got 2 assists.
Well, actually, he got 2 assists on FPL, but one
because
of
he
the
got one of them
assists,
was got the
because of
penalty. Oh, that's never okay. And he got a second assist for the third goal.
Yeah. I've got a super chat here from Kim Min Seo saying, appreciate the videos from you guys all the time. Do you guys know when the team will announce how long Bergwijn, Son, Dyer and Skip will be out for? Well, I mean, Skip's not out because he played on the weekend. Dyer, we're not too sure on yet, but like we just brought you, Son and Bergwijn apparently could be fit for this Chelsea game, so we'll have to wait and see for that one.
Positive. Yeah, very positive.
Have to wait and see for that one. But anything else from you?
No, that's all for now. That's in terms of any news. Yeah, that's just.
Well, we got Sim waiting to talk to us, so let's bring Sim on. Sim is Sim's favourite guest.
He is.
Just for the
I
name.
love Sim.
Sim, how you doing, mate? I can't hear him.
Are you muted, mate?
No, I'm muted.
Ah, yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay, I'd like to talk about first the game on Saturday, if you don't mind me talking about.
Please go for it. I mean, are you sure you want? You want to talk about that? You want to just start crying? You want us to cry?
I'm not really gonna try about it because the last time I was on the channel, I spoke about Emerson not starting against Palace because I knew that Zaha was gonna butcher him, which happened. And I'm just disappointed by what Nuno did because I'm like, why can't he trust McDougherty at least rather than Emerson, just throwing Emerson under the bus, which was not good. And also, if you know that Skip is starting, at least bring in the likes of Brian Hill to replace what's his name, Winks, rather than playing a very unattractive middle three in the attacking sense. That's what I was disappointed about because I was like, why can't he trust Brian Hill and probably Matt Doherty if he knows that, okay, he's going to not have a right back or he can move Japhet Tankanka as a right back. That's the thing that I was disappointed about.
I mean, Sim, let me ask you this. I mean, how can you possibly put trust in Matt Doherty? I mean, when you look at the facts of the matter, since he's come to Tottenham, he has probably never had more than a 6 out of 10 since joining the team. Probably not. And the 6s out of 10 are probably his really good performances, probably one or two performances at 6 out of 10. Nuno Espirito Santo was the one that sold him to us, so he knows full well what he can bring. And he's the one that's not putting his trust in him now. So it's very telling. I mean, it was a big mistake to sign him, in my opinion. And I would prefer to give the trust to Emerson on his debut against Zaha than Matt Doherty because he's just not shown anything for me in a Spurs shirt. I don't know how you're feeling about that.
Okay, no, I do agree with you that he hasn't given us good performances just yet in a Tottenham shirt. But I'm just what I didn't want was Emerson just coming into the Premier League just like that without no experience, without no proper exposure. Because even if you do play, you can start McDougherty, then just go into a back three, which could have been Ben Davies, probably Eric Dyer and Japhet Tankanka, making the Tankanka marks. Wilfried Zaha, and you just let McDougherty just handle the left back of Crystal Palace. That's what I could have done to make sure that Doherty doesn't get isolated with Wilfried Zaha, because we know that Doherty is not the best defensive player. Just make sure that he just gets the free roam to help out in the attack. That's what
I mean, the way I look at it, what I would have done with the defence in this game, I would have started Tanganga right back, and I would have started with a back two of Dyer and Rodon.
Was Rodon match fit? That's what I was worried about.
Well, he came on, he played well, didn't he?
He came on after 15 minutes, and he was one of the best players.
I'm just worried in a back four, alongside probably a Dyer, would he been able to finish the whole game without no problems or niggles like that? Because I didn't play against, he didn't start against Wales in the last game. That's what I was worried about. That's why I didn't want to start Ndombele too, because I'm worried, is he match fit to start the game? That's why I was also worried about, because I would have started Rodon if it was match fit, but I didn't want to just throw him under there with, I'm not sure how his match fitness is looking.
Look, I get what you're saying, and it definitely was a question mark before the game, that's for sure, because we were having the same debate before the game. Is Rodon match fit? Is he not match fit? We don't know personally as fans, but Nuno and the medical staff will know full well what's happening behind the scenes. So he came on with 15 minutes gone from the game, or 12 minutes gone, and played throughout the whole game, and didn't look like he was suffering from any fitness or anything like that. So I think Rodon could have started. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I also think he could have started because he played 75 minutes, approximately 75 minutes, which means maybe it's Nuno not trusting him to start the game just yet, or he's worried about the partnership, centre back partnership between him and Dyer or between him and Jaffet.
Exactly.
Could be that. Yeah.
But what do you think of Nuno's decision to put Dele in a front three? We're up front with Kane and Lucas, and keep Hill on the bench, and then also have the midfield three of Winks, Højbjerg, and Skip. Do you think it was too much disruption? What do you think?
It was too much disruption. I don't know why you're taking Ali to the width now, because he was doing great in the midfield three. Just if you know that Skip is gonna start, take out Winks and bring in a Brian Hill to bring more technical ability, more dribble. Like, because Hill is like a Sonish because he's quick, he can run behind the player. He's got a bit of trickery with him, which can open space for Kane to make proper runs. But because Ali is not, he's a runner, but I don't think he's got the speed and the flairness to dribble around players. That's what I'm worried about with Ali. So I was like, he was too defensive, which was so not good by Nuno, because that was an easy 3-pointer to get 3 points to Palace and have 4 out of 4 matches. Then we know if you go against Chelsea, at least you can just fight for a draw, or a defeat won't be that bad, because at least we have 12 points.
Do you think
another one?
Go on, Tim. Yeah, but go on.
Oh no, because I heard that you spoke about Winks. And that, okay, we know that Winks has not been good, but I think in the Palace game, he was okay. He was okay, but another question, because the question I want to ask is, what's Winks' best position? Is he a number 6? Is he a box to box? We don't really know under these circumstances now, under these new circumstances. I don't know. Let me say that. I don't know what's his best position recently now.
I don't think anyone knows, to be honest.
In theory, for me, it's like something like Jorginho's position, just like a bit deeper, likes to control the tempo of the game, spraying passes around, that kind of thing. That's in theory his best position. Or you can argue to the cows come home how effective you think he is, but that's the position I would see him as.
Because I think if that's his position, we already have Oliver Skip for that.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Højbjerg, because I've noticed that Højbjerg under Denmark, he's more creative. I think that's why he played Skip, Winks, and Højbjerg, because he thought, okay, I can release Højbjerg to go and just put in a few 3 balls in and out, because I can notice that Højbjerg in the Denmark team is more a bit of a creative athlete, while Eriksen is missing. Something I noticed in the international break.
Yeah, that's a decent point. But what do you think Saturday's result was coming? Do you think it was a result that you could see coming and something we should have expected, or do you think that if we carry on how we're doing in the first 3 games, even though it was a bad result on Saturday, we should be okay?
The Saturday defeat, for me, it was not coming just yet. We could have, because I think we could have beaten Crystal Palace if we had a proper balanced team, which was attack and proper in the midfield to balance at the same time. Because I'll be worried next week against Chelsea. That's when we're gonna know how many holes out do we have within the team. That's what I'm saying. Because the Palace game was like we could have just grabbed 3 points and we could have been waiting for Chelsea then to come next. Because it's easy. These are the easy points we can take before we get into the top 4 teams.
Yeah, agreed.
I want to ask you, Sim. We were having a big debate on the channel before. We had a poll with the comments and stuff. We were talking about who is more important to the team, Harry Kane or Heung-min Son. What would your opinion be?
For me, okay. Firstly, how you asked the question, for me, it seemed a bit broad, because I would have asked it like this: who needs who? Is it Kane who needs Son, or is it saying Son who needs Kane? Because with importance, I think, okay, I voted Son as importance, because at least Son, we know, as much as he disappears into a game, he's never really dead. Against Palace, Kane was dead. We couldn't see what he was doing. We couldn't see him running behind the defense. We couldn't see him hold up the play. That's why because with Son, at least we know we can face someone, and that gives other players options to run behind the defense or make space for other players. And Kane didn't show us that. But if by who needs who, I think Kane needs Son, and Son doesn't need Kane to excel. That's what I could say.
Interesting. It's interesting because, the majority of Son's goals last season all came from a Kane assist.
But yeah, I understand that. But he made his own space to get where he needs to get. That's another thing. His own run, Swan's intelligence runs get him the opportunities. If you know what I mean, because Kane no longer does intelligence runs now. I don't know whether how he drops back. He just integrated that into Nuno's game plan. Because now before, I think under Pochettino, Kane used to run behind, used to give us different multiple dimensions of how to play, run behind the back line, hold up the play, pinging balls left and right. Now he's just standing there waiting to ping a ball for someone. He's not giving us multiple options to run around, which I think Son, at least he can give us running behind. He can hold up play, he can go 1v1, he can shoot with his left and right, set pieces, he can help us out. He offers more. That's all I can say with Son.
Okay, interesting. Nice one.
All right, Sim, absolute pleasure having you on, my friend, and we shall see you next time.
Thank you.
Cheers,
See ya.
mate. Brilliant call from Sim, and look who we have coming up next. Our favourite Scotsman, Mr. Brains McLeod. How you doing, mate?
How's it going?
All good, mate. How are you?
I don't know. I can see Brian Daigle's face there. I'm sure he was waiting for him to be named there until you said favourite.
Wait, you like Brains more than Neil Sullivan? You like him like Brains more than Neil Sullivan?
Neil Sullivan's got nothing on Brains. Nothing. Nothing.
Oh man, it's a tough time to be positive though.
Yeah.
I hate not being like positive about Spurs, but it's a tough time. That was a proper reality check against Palace.
Yeah,
I feel sorry for you guys being there. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. It was hard being there. But to be honest, though, it was nice to be in an away crowd again, back to an away game, first time in 2 years. It was nice to be back and sing some songs with the Spurs faithful and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in terms of the first 3 games, obviously we won our first 3 games, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and then we got battered by Palace on the weekend. Do you think this result was coming?
Yeah, well, it was like that Watford game. It was like we're scraping by against Watford. You know, like a manager bounce comes in and you've got like, he's bringing fitness. That's great. He's bringing a kind of like more desire to some players who need it. Like he's clearly like taken Dele under his wing. He's made him a pretty good centre back. He actually looked like, I'm thinking like next game, Rodon and Dele at centre back, because he was really good. It was like, but it's that midfield is you guys said it earlier, like starting the game with those 3 in the midfield like a flat line, and it was a flat line. Sim was right about Højbjerg when he plays for Højbjerg played against Scotland in the Denmark game, and it was like, Jesus Christ, look how like progressive he is. Mm-hmm. He was so progressive. Him and Damsgaard just controlled the game. And then you think like, he's never going to be able to do that at Spurs. Like he should be able to do that, but he doesn't have any flair like to play off. So it's like, what did Højbjerg touch the ball against Palace? I can't remember him in the game.
Not much, no.
There was a couple of times where Winks made some passes. They were forward passes, but they were like 100 meters away from his target. It was like, what the? And I was getting like messages every time Winks got the ball and tried to progress the game. I was getting these like head smack emojis. Like that's the emoji. Winks should just have his own new emoji.
I think that is his new emoji. I think you've just crowned it. The Winks emoji.
There's a head slap, and then when you take it off, it gets 40 million on his.
Oh my God, 40 million! Jesus Christ! Like he is. Levy needs to go on like a reality TV show. Those ones where you like kind of sell off your shit in those bins. Like just opening up the gate and there's Winks. Hey, like no, don't close it.
If anyone wants to pay 40 million for Winks, I'll literally drive him there right there myself.
Crazy.
Literally.
But it's one of those things. It's like you can't just. We're all feeling stoked about the 3 wins in a row, but you can't ever judge a manager when things are going well. You have like the measure of a man is never when you're on the up, it's when you're on the down. Mm-hmm. That's how you measure someone, how they can like, and we know that he's not a reactionary guy. He said it before, but to have no reaction, what the fuck? You know, like, I get you don't want to be a reactionary guy, but bro, you're sleeping. You're genuinely like someone put some smelling salts under his nose. Like, does he have a heartbeat? Like, what's going on here? Like when you go down 1-0, it doesn't matter if you lose 2-0. It doesn't matter if you lose 3-0. So when you go down 1-0, a loss is a loss. You now have to attack from the front. So the fact that he went down and then stopped Brian Gill coming on, it's like, no. Now is when you put him on, because now we need an avenue out. Now we need to press from the front. He's a young guy. Even if he doesn't do anything with the ball, he can still press from the front. So we had no press. It's hard to watch Lucas because, Jesus, the dude, he tries so hard. Him, Reguilon, they try. And if this was rugby, that would be fucking amazing. But it's not rugby. It's so heartbreaking to see them kind of wivel through it, to see them run hard and then just like, boom, nowhere to go. Players close down. The book on Kane, like, especially now that I think, you know, kind of every game he's in the kind of deep waters with sharks around him. And I think if you're a manager, if you're a defensive coach, you write that playbook on him every game. It's a little too easy to write a playbook against him. As soon as you crowd him out, you cut down his angles, and he's got nothing. He'll fall to the ground. Like someone was saying, that fall to the ground's not working anymore. It won't work this season. So it does kind of crush the utilage of what Kane was really about. And I think that playbook's been starting to be written on him hardcore. But I think all the problems we're seeing now, I think it comes down to that window. Like you guys are saying, like, what would you rate the window? And I remember that show, and I was thinking, well, maybe a 5, maybe a 6, because we kept Kane, you know. But now you look at it, it's like -5. Jesus, like.
But are we looking at that because, you know, we've got a lot of injuries at the moment, and obviously 3 players stuck in Croatia as well, all 3 starting players potentially as well, stuck in Croatia.
But like Brian Daigle said 10 years ago, he had a Facebook post.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was the same situation. So these things happen. And when you're like a Paratici or you're an executive board, and that stuff happens to Spurs all the time, then you have to know, like, look, we have a problem at centre back. We can't just bring one in because one of them get injured and then we're screwed. 2 of them, you know, go away to international duty. Now we have 1 centre back. Like, now we are genuinely screwed for a game against one of the best teams in the league. But all we had to do, right? It was so simple. Semi from Crotone was one of the top scorers in Italy. He was available for 3 million. Edouard at Celtic was the top scorer in Scotland.
He's the one for me.
He was available for 14 million, and he wanted to come. Like, if you got Damsgaard then, because if that's so cheap, save the money on Gill. If you don't buy Gill, if your manager has no faith in playing a young talent, don't buy him then. 25 million, there's those 2 players right there. Then you could have brought in a Damsgaard. You could have brought in Tomiyasu. You could have brought in that. And then with Romero and Emerson, now you've got a strong squad. Without those buys, then all we were relying on was the idea of selling Kane to do a rebuild. We didn't do it. And we're in a situation with Kane. It's a tough one because I feel like the same way as Sim. It feels actually like a pain in the heart to talk negatively about Kane because I truly believe he's like the best thing for us for so many years. But I was saying this to one of the players on my football team towards the end of last season. It's like he does go missing for a little bit of the season. He has those kind of patches. But I was genuinely seeing, this was a thought before the kind of craziness of the window happened, I was genuinely seeing that he was coming up like this and he was starting to level out and he was just starting to tilt on the downward, like as in for what we can expect out of him. And I remember seeing some of the shots of his faces after he like would make a run, wouldn't get the ball, or he'd hit a shot and his like head would drop and he was that one where he said, oh, fuck this. You know,
like, what's the point? Yeah. What's the point? Yeah.
There's these moments where you see like his belief in Spurs is gone. And that's why I think, you know, if you're a football player and you're like, especially when you're a goal getter, when you're a scorer, you can see him go away for England and hit a shot out of nothing because he's like, oh, who cares? You know, if it doesn't go in, it doesn't go in. can't do that with Spurs. There's so much.
If he has Chesney in
it.
the opposite goal every single week, I'm sure he'll be doing that. Don't you worry about that.
He's just got to like imagine Chesney's face on every goalkeeper he's against. But yeah, it's hard. It's not just like it's a mentality thing. It's like, here's a player who's carried a team for years. That takes years off your life. Stress takes years off your life. Takes years off your fitness, and you can see that he just seems like he doesn't have that fitness anymore. His running is labored. He's adapting his game, which is great because he does have such a variety of skills he can adapt to. But when he doesn't have someone he knows, when he doesn't have a Son to play off, when he doesn't have a kind of an interesting cam or someone to bring the ball to him, if Lucas isn't playing on the inside, maybe as the cam, it just doesn't seem like there's anything there. He seems like he's too kind of over worried about how much he has to do, and then you can see that the way he runs, and it seems labored. And then it's really harsh where fans are kind of slamming that. It's like, you have to understand the weight that's been on him for so long, and now after that shitty window and his career up in the air, it's going to be hard for him to get back to kind of being, that guy for Spurs.
And it's not easy when, he gets the ball, he's like 4 defenders around him, he's got no help pretty much, literally only Lucas to aim at. He's got he's receiving passes from Skip, Højbjerg and Winks, like trying to make the most of them, like trying to do mad controls and keep possession of the ball and hold off 4 defenders while also looking for runs and not even being close to goal. He didn't even get an opportunity to be close to goal on Saturday. Do you think also that plays into the fact that maybe it was a bit frustrating on the weekend to see Nuno go for such a defensive approach when he had other options? Was that a worry for you, maybe, that he went a bit pragmatic and safety first when we had Gil, who could have started, and maybe Ndombele as well, and why he changed that midfield three for no reason? Like, he put in Winks where he really didn't have to put in Winks. We had Dele there. You could have just kept the same midfield three. Why change it up? There was really no need to change it up. He could have put Gil on the left-hand side or someone or something. So was it a worry that when given the option of either having a young attacking talent and giving him a go, or going pragmatic, he went the pragmatic approach?
Yeah, Sam, let's be honest, he shat the bed. I mean, his lily whites were lily brown. It was like genuinely, like when I saw that lineup, I was like,
I need to use that line. His lily whites were lily brown. That is brilliant.
But I was just like, what has he done here? Like, the defense, Tanganga, we know, is a centre back. I do think he should have started with Rodon. I think Rodon deserved the start, and then Tanganga out there on the right. Maybe he would have been advanced. He wouldn't have been in the altercation with Zaha. And I genuinely thought that Emerson, like, you guys were at the game. I don't know how much you saw, but like on TV, like, I thought Emerson did decent against Zaha. Zaha is a tricky guy, and I thought a lot of the duels Emerson won. I thought he did do quite well. Tough, obviously, comes in, doesn't speak English, doesn't know how players work, doesn't know how. That's a whole channel that you have to have a understanding with the players ahead of you. Your inside right player, you've got to know all this. He doesn't, so it's going to be a hard game. But I was looking at that going, no Gil. I mean, like, our wingers are out. This is why do we have this player? This is the opportunity. Start the kid, get him 1 or 2 good touches in the early game. The whole complexion of the match changes. You have a chance to play Dele as a cam, like, just play him as that. Like, I just don't understand why he shat the bed like that. Why he went into like negative, like, oh, we've got better problems here. We're late. But it's also one of those things, like Alistair Gold was saying, like, Ndombele was fit, like, he was absolutely fit, and Nuno had said that he is in with the team now. So, like, why not play him? Like, this is Palace. Like, if you take the initiative early on the game, we'll win this game. So you needed creativity from the start. You needed a high press. You definitely needed legs up front. So really, really bizarre. I couldn't believe that. I thought the writing was on the wall then. As soon as I saw the lineups, I was like, this doesn't look good.
I agree. When it comes to Emerson, I agree with you. I think he did all right for quite a bit of the game, but I did think once we went down to 10 men then he kind of came up
Oh, yeah.
and stuck really badly. And I feel like he can't, because when we're down to 10 men, you're relying on your one-on-one battles. You can't afford to bring players over to help Emerson and deal with Zaha, because when you're down to 10 men, you're stretched. You're just naturally so stretched. You have to rely on everyone winning their one-on-one battles to get a result. And when you're going one-on-one against Zaha, even the best defenders can struggle in those kind of situations. So it was always going to be a struggle for him on his debut in that kind of situation. But I did agree, 11 versus 11. I didn't think he did too badly. I think he got spun once at the end of the first half. Other than that, I don't think he did too badly, Emerson. So hopefully that's something he can build on.
When we had that formation, like, it was strong. Like, no one can argue that Spurs, the defense wasn't the problem. It was strong. And so you could see that those group of players will work well together, you know. So yeah, it's a bizarre one for me. It's like the problem was definitely the midfield, and then as soon as you lose the player, you're right. It's like, if you're in a position, do you understand how to play all the trifecta of your position? You totally understand that, and so you play a kind of zonal ground, right? But people moaning about Rodon on those goals, it's like, they're not understanding that center defender, when he loses one, it's all over the shop now. Like, he was obviously getting tracked towards the ball, and you're thinking, and he was going like that. He would be signaling to another defender, like, get him, but not knowing, like, so instinctively he's going to the ball. He's gonna put a block in. That's what Rodon does really well. He obviously isn't aware that Emerson's too far up and he's not tracked back enough. Emerson's going, oh shit, yeah, this would now be my job to take that position as well. It's a shit show, you know. But that's why as well I thought the reaction from Nuno was the wrong reaction, you know. So like, attack from the front, press up, take the pressure off. I think someone's I don't know if you guys could hear that, but someone's definitely using a high-powered pneumatic dildo.
It sounded like an aeroplane was landing in your front garden or something. That's what it sounded like to me. But we got a super chat here from Mintu Lee saying, after his appointment, you did a preview show with a Wolves fan, and they said Nuno played defensively when Wolves was hit with injuries. I saw a little bit of that creeping in. I hope our players are back soon so he can be more confident. I mean, do you think that's what's happening here? Because we've been a pretty defensive all season, really, haven't we?
Yeah, it's really turning like the DNA of Spurs, you know, was like these fast, quick, sharp movements through the midfield, breaking out to the wing, an inside run, which happened once in the Palace game. There was one movement where it kind of connected really nice. But that was I would have thought was the DNA of Spurs. How many times last season did we break away in that, like, nice little quick movements? So all that's gone, because of course, you know, it's nice to see Dele rebuilt, bigger shoulders, like stronger on the ball, winning tackles, like running a lot. It's nice to see, but he is now completely not the creative guy that we need in the park. So it's kind of almost like doing all that hard work might have played you out of the team if Gio or Ndombele come in and show like they really want it, you know, because those are link players. They're linchpin players. Like, you really need them to be firing. Gio for me is the one that I think, like, when you see him with Argentina, he's such a link player. Everything goes from him. He's almost as important as Messi. So it's like, we got to get that out of him. You know, we've got a great player there.
I'm going to clip that. I'm going to clip that. Lo Celso's almost as good as Messi.
You know what I mean?
Every one of our players plays better for their international teams than for us. Every single one.
All of our players play better when they're not in a Spurs shirt. I mean, Carter Vickers looked like a man possessed. I mean, like, who the hell is this guy? You know, like, he scores a goal, he gets man of the match. It's just like, you can see the shackles were off him. He's probably going to win a trophy. Carter Vickers is going to win a trophy before Dyer. How messed up is that?
But Brains, how do you when you look at this result and just the performance and obviously what happened, when people say, when people like criticizing how Nuno got it wrong and everything, and other people say, they're going overboard, it's, you know, one defeat in 4 games, you can't criticize them too much, you don't want to go overboard and tell how wrong everything is going when it's only 1 game. Do you look at it that way, or do you say, look, these issues were clearly happening before the Palace game, everyone could identify them, and it's not going overboard to say this was coming?
It's the worrying thing is his decision making is bad, and even in the 3 games he's made bad decisions in like all the games. Like he waits too long. It's like these managers who don't make substitutions. It's like you don't understand. If your players are running their legs off for you, you want them to run themselves on the ground. You want them to do a job, and then you have to make some changes later in the game. That kind of third quarter change is to like boom, is to attack. It's a strategic change, and he doesn't seem to kind of get that. Like that's if you've got a loaded gun like Brian Gill on the bench, and you need this later in the game. I don't understand why he's like, oh, we brought him in for 3 minutes to one. Like, what are you doing? Like, so it is for me. The worrying thing is that we've scraped through games. The first game was pure determination, you know, like, but how many, you know, we were kind of not lucky. We worked our ass off hard. That type of work rate only depends on being able to have players fit all the time. As soon as we don't have a full squad team, that's gone. So now it's like, okay, now you actually have to rely on a manager having some know-how, having some kind of strategic prowess. You know, he doesn't seem. That's the worrying factor for me, is that he doesn't seem to have that. We had nothing in attack against Palace, and we, even with Son and Kane, we didn't have that much against Watford. So that's the worrying thing. It's like it's not even a case of him not getting the best out of players. You know, when you're a manager and you take on a team, you don't just inherit players. You inherit the problems. You inherit all of the shit. You inherit all the drama. And that's the thing. I don't know if he's, you know, he's getting asked every. You see his face, how he gets asked every, you know, about Ndombele, Kane, and it's like, Jesus, like I'm just trying to get a team to work together here. You know, it's a lot of stuff, and that's the side of it. I don't think he's. That's why it's worrying times. I think now you've got Chelsea coming up, Arsenal, Wolves in the cup. Oy vey.
Exactly. We'll see.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll see how it plays out. But look, it is only one defeat in 4 games. Hopefully he learns from it, and hopefully we can improve, and he can add things to the side like an Ndombele and Lo Celso and get them into the side integrated, because that's the key, I think, just getting that link to the midfield, to the attack, so he can really start to open up teams and start to ask questions in midfield. Because at the moment I feel like as much as our midfield is working well and working hard, on the ball they're just not doing enough. They're just simply not doing enough to ask questions of the opposition midfields, and they're too easy to play against in terms of when they're on the ball. They're off the ball, they're very difficult to beat, to get past, but on the ball they're just too simple to play against, and that's the problem.
And all every team has strategic managers other than the manager. You have kind of gameplay guys. You know, you have people who basically their job is to watch every team. Like you watch your next few opponents for the next 3 weeks, and you come up with gameplays. You see how the rule book's being written against them. And with Spurs coming out every game with a low defense, like a low blocking midfield, it's like, well, you can find ways to play around that. And what that will do, it will allow the other team to have the upper foot early on in the game. So if Spurs keep on doing that, like I think if you've got, and what we were doing in the kind of pre-season was he was allowing Højbjerg to advance. He was allowing Dele to go up. Dele scored goals in the pre-season. So that's what we need to get back to. Like we need to, of course, you have to have faith in your defense. You can't be relying on Dele to come back and make last ditch Superman, like like saves you. You shouldn't be relying on that. It's good that he does it, you know, but you know, he should be up there being the creative link, and that's the trouble right now is we needed a Damsgaard, we needed something creative. We need Gill. This idea of Nuno, I don't know where he plays. It's like, have you not watched? Like he played a whole Olympic thing. You know, have you not been watching? Like, you know, like they had the faith to let him come inside and be a cam against Brazil. Like they had the faith in him. Why do you not have the faith in this kid? Like at least give him a chance. You know, I think he's one of the him. I
think it will come though.
And Ndombele. Hopefully it will. I mean, Nuno's he's not a dumb guy. You know, like you just want him to kind of get into his groove and like start making the right decisions, and you want the team to get their confidence back. The problem is with this Rennes game, I think you actually have to play. I think you have to play Kane a little bit, because I think he needs a goal. I think he needs. It's like we don't want to risk him, but he needs something good to happen. You know, it's like, and also we're not that amazing with him in the team right now, so it doesn't matter if he's out.
He had that confidence boost against Passos, got those 2 goals, I think it was, and still. So I don't think the Conference League can even be useful for that.
It's not. Yeah, it's not the Confidence League for sure. So.
Brains, absolute pleasure as always, my friend, and
Great to see you,
hopefully
mate.
to speak to you soon. Great call.
Yeah, nice one, guys. Take care.
See you
See
in a
you
bit.
later, mate.
Nice one.
Let's move on to our next guest, and that is Brian Dakhil. Brian, you look like you're in a different setting to where you usually
I wonder why
are.
that is.
I'm in the same time zone as you boys.
Hey.
This feels so weird. I've been back since 8:30. My hero, my dad picked me up. He's actually downstairs watching me on TV downstairs. Watching this done on the big screen.
Tell him to come up and say hi, Brian's dad, if you're listening.
Just say Gary, come up, and then he'll probably
Gary, come upstairs,
Gary, we're waiting for you. Come on.
There you go.
Is he also a big Spurs fan?
He's a big Spurs fan.
Does he also hate Levy as much as you?
Put it this way: I get my temper from my mother, not my father. But what he did say as well. Remember, I said to you guys, Friday night dinner. Whilst I'm here, you're gonna have to come round, and I think I can hear my dad coming up the steps. Here he is.
Hey! Hello, Gary.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you too.
How are you, Gary? Are you?
I'm pleased to have him back. Oh,
It's great.
Lovely.
when he goes back though.
After I'm sure he'll be ranting at you on the dinner table about leaving, you want him gone as soon as possible.
What's your thoughts on Levy, Dad? They were saying. Yes, it's rather non-committal, but he doesn't do anything. He's non-committal. He's not committed to us.
Yeah, he's committed. He's committed to his pocket.
And the thing is, why can't he show any emotion? Why does he just sit there with a different verdict every time? So, I mean, he's supposed to be the atmosphere of the club. He's supposed to, if he shows positive emotion, it might get through. He doesn't. He shows no emotion whatsoever. He just stands there. Look at my pitch. Look at my ground. I don't really care about the team, but I've built the best ground. That's my
Exactly. He's like, look at this massive mansion I've built, but I can't put any furniture in it yet.
My mum's now calling me.
You watch him at a full packed out NFL game, you'll see a big smile on his face, I bet you.
Yeah. Yes, we're looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely.
very much so.
And Gary, did you watch the game on Saturday?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, well, what do you make of how Nuno managed the team on Saturday?
Did he manage the team?
Supposedly.
He said, well, go on, boys, you go out there. And, I can't see the point of having Wings and... Go on, Dad. Go on. And Skip in the same team, because Skip is doing what Wings did with a bit more passion.
Yeah.
And I just can't see they're playing the same position, the same game.
Yeah.
Just pointless having the two of them. And
I agree.
He stayed on.
Completely agree with you.
But at the
Completely
moment, we
agree.
start the season with 3 wins out of 4 games. It was a bad, damaging defeat, but at the moment, overall,
It was
how
a
we're
very
playing,
damaging- It was a very damaging defeat. When I first started taking Brian to football, he said, I think I'm going to lose this game. I said, Brian, if you go with that attitude, I'm not taking you to football. You go to football to see your team win.
That's it.
And you don't, you think about losing. I mean, it's getting harder and harder nowadays. But, the years and years we've suffered. But no,
I think did anyone expect Spurs to win any game throughout the 90s?
no.
That's why it was so good when we did.
Yeah, but we're just getting there and not winning. I mean, I've seen us actually win things.
Yeah.
And I love Brian to be able to watch.
What's that like, Gary?
I mean, I was at the League Cup final when we beat Aston Villa. What year? Oh, 67. I mean, Steve Perriman was the captain. I mean, I don't know all the years and things like he does. He's like a brain box with it. But we did deserve to win that game. And if it wasn't for Perriman stopping the ball going to the goal, we'd have lost it. I felt the atmosphere going into the ground, the Aston Villa and the Spurs supporters were brilliant altogether, no problems whatsoever. But on the way back, I felt embarrassed. I mean, I was happy we won, but embarrassed because we didn't play the best game.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now. I mean, how we beat Manchester City 1-0.
They were there. We battered City.
Yeah, we battered City, but we should have more. There should have been more.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, you now watch in hope rather than in sort of expectancy.
Well, I'm sitting there with Chelsea, so you're going to know where we're sitting because I'm going to make quite a racket.
Brilliant.
Quite a racket.
Yeah.
I think after this game, your son might be banned from the stadium.
Yeah.
Wait, I told you that I've been blocked from Daniel Levy's emails. He bouncing them back now.
Yeah,
Does he?
I heard.
What have you been tweeting at him? What have you been emailing him, I mean?
So
You don't want to know, mate.
what I've been trying to do is to send him videos of like voice notes since the Super League and everything. And every single video I went to send was too long. So every time I had a rant, and the first one being the Super League, I was emailing the link of Tottenham Away or We Are Tottenham TV or my ones or anything that I rant about Levy. And I used to start, "Dear Daniel, you parasite Levy," nice emails. And send
Shocker that it got bounced back.
yeah, only recently they've been bounced back. But what can you do? What can you do? We all
I
know
can't
what
wait.
to
I
do.
can't wait. When Brian gets in the stadium, he's going, "I can see you. You can
Mate,
see me."
I swear to God, I'm going to make that guy sound like Charlie Chaplin. That's how loud I'm going to be. I'm going to be quite vocal. But listen, the great thing is I get to go with you, both of you, your granddad. I got a grandpa, sorry. I get to go with Danny Kiriakou. I get to meet all the other YouTubers that I've been speaking to. Hopefully some other people that are in the live chat. I'm just so happy to be back. I get to spend time with you guys, which is the most important. I've got a gift for both of you to give to you, and I think I mentioned it to you, but I ain't telling you what it is.
Amazing.
And it's just going to be very, very good to spend some time with all the Tottenham people.
I cannot wait, Brian. I cannot wait. Yeah, we need to have a chat when you can come into the studio. Maybe we'll do a Good Morning Tottenham together or something like that.
Yeah, whenever, man.
But yeah, speak to me on WhatsApp and stuff. We'll arrange it. But yeah, anything else you want to say today? I wanted to actually ask you, who is more important for you, Kane or Son? We've been having a massive debate.
Oh, well done, Dad. Give 5. So, Son.
At the moment, definitely Son.
So you look at it, Son, when he comes on the pitch, he's given all his effort. Sim, we had this discussion about Palace, and I said he was invisible. And then you were there, so you said about the...
He was invisible, but I don't think it was his fault. There's my point. But anyway,
but I agree with that part. But I also think that he should have tried to make more of it rather than just being up front. He should have dropped back to try to create. But the one thing you get with Son is 100% commitment.
And he signs his contract as soon as he gets off of one.
No, he doesn't. That took 10 months.
I know. Yeah, but as soon as he's in the position to do it, he did it.
Okay,
he didn't start ranting and raving, I want more, I want more. Well, we don't know, but he signed the contract.
yeah, he definitely did.
Kissing the badge.
Yeah.
And he's stayed with us for ages.
And also financially, he's the bigger. If we look at what he brings into the club, then it's hands down who wins that one.
All right. Well, the Daigles. Go on. What were you saying?
What did I say?
I was going to say, I used to enjoy going to Spurs when I went in the boys' queue, one through. Now that was value.
What's that?
That's 6.5p.
There you go.
6.5p. That's all right. I wouldn't mind that.
6.5p.
Now that.
You're an adult, 2 and 6.
Okay, so what's that then?
That's 12.5.
What a rip-off. 12p. What a rip-off.
12p.
I mean, what a nuisance. But guys, honestly, it is amazing being on your time zone and not being 5 hours behind you. It is great. And Bob Spur, before he kills me, also wanted to say, because he can't get on, that he reckons that this is Bob Spur, he actually sent me a voice note, he reckons this 40 million valuation of Winks, and I don't know where this 40 million's come from.
Good times.
He reckons it's Levy trying to get the right price for Kane. If you put that price for him, then obviously you're gonna... So that's not me saying it, that's not me, that is brother Bob Spur, but he can't get on today because he's driving around and doing stuff, so
How much...
what Bob Spur wanted me to add to it.
How much more is Kane worth than Winks?
Jesus Christ! You need to add a few more zeros. A good few more zeros. But yeah, Ben, we'll talk about coming in. I mean, I'm coming in for the Wolves game anyway.
Yeah.
Are you both going?
Yeah, we haven't 100% locked that down, but we'll let you know.
We're still out. I'm going to be in there anyway. I can't wait to see you and all the followers and everyone in the chat, and I can't wait to meet as many people as possible. But I'll definitely see you both on Sunday.
Looking forward to it, Brian.
All right, boys. I will see
And
you.
see you
tomorrow.
later. The Daigles. Big up the Daigles.
You have to join me, okay? On 3, you have to say leave you out, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Leave it out.
Lovely cameo from the Daigles. Love it.
that, guys.
Love that. Didn't
Love
even speak
that,
much
guys.
football, but love to see Gary.
How many people we got in the back end, Vinny? 1. Last caller of the day, Mr. Connor. How you doing, Connor? I think you're on mute.
No,
No, you're good. You're
no,
good.
yeah.
We can hear you.
Great.
How you doing, Connor? You good?
I'm all right. I'm a bit more bubbly than I was on Sunday morning, that's for sure. Saturday afternoon.
What's got you in a better mood? Just the more those time has passed. Is that it?
Do you know, honestly, it's been seeing the ironic tweets from the Spurs admin. So shout out to the Spurs admin.
I haven't seen those. No, I haven't seen those tweets.
No, just about half an hour ago, they posted on this day in 2017, we beat Dortmund 3-0.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Oh, I miss those days. Take me back to the Champions League. It seems like so far away now. Those kind of games, being in Champions League and playing against the best, and now we're struggling against the likes of Palace and getting back 3-0.
It's the irony, isn't it? It's the irony.
Yeah, I know. In terms of Spurs at the moment and our creativity issue, is it something that you think Nuno is going to sort out, or do you think that is he too much of a pragmatic manager to be concentrating on that?
You see, I've seen it in the chat a few times today. What worries me is the Wolves fans were very much saying that be careful, he doesn't really have a plan B during games. And, you know, we as fans could recognise it so easily. And even when the lineup came out, we all saw that there would be a lack of creativity there. We saw why there's Skippy, Winks and Højbjerg starting. So how we can recognise that so easily in fans, and how he can't recognise that during the game, even at half time, and recognise that a change needs to be made because the game is slipping away from us. It's just not very promising. You start to think these group of players have a record of not turning up and not playing for the manager like Jose. So you'd worry that maybe they might have a little bit of a lack of belief in how he's setting the team up, why he hasn't made that change. So that's a concern. But I think on the whole, there's a lot to be positive about when you look at the performances over the past couple of weeks. City especially, I think there's so many positives to take from that game. When you think about the circumstances this week with the international break, the injuries, the quarantine, you maybe can write as an off day. But the stats you were reading earlier, Sim, were a bit damning, weren't they?
That's the thing, yeah. Like, as much as, yes, it's a small sample size, and you can say it's only 4 games, which is true, but the stats just back up what you're seeing on the pitch. It's nothing we're not seeing. You know, our midfielders' lack of ability to carry the ball and play progressive passes bears down the stats, where they're near the bottom of the league for ball carries and progressive passes. It's like nothing new, like from reading the stats and stuff like that. And that's just a trend that we need to we need to sort out, because we're going to get unstuck more often than not if we keep being so predictable to play against. That's why we need those star bit of quality from Ndombele and Lascelles, so get them into the team, and maybe we can change the way we play, because at the moment, this pragmatic style of just having a solid defence and looking for either a bit of luck or one moment of quality up front to win the game came unstuck on Saturday, and I don't think it's sustainable long term.
It's not. The game was crying out for a ball carrier like Ndombele. We have one of the best ball carriers in the Premier League sat on our bench. And, you know, even when the red card is shown, fair enough, he has to bring on Davies. Then we've used 2 substitutes. You know, he has to do that. But then when we go 1-0 down, that is for me when you bring on Bryan Hill or Ndombele straight away. You've nothing to lose anymore.
Yeah, the game was crawling out for either one of them, and the Watford game as well. To be honest, the Watford game was calling out for probably Ndombele as well. I mean, to be honest, every game apart from the Man City game we've played this season, Ndombele could have done a massive job in filling that creative void that we left. Yeah,
you're right. I think obviously there's probably issues between the two, isn't there? Nuno and Tanguy. I think maybe he has a bit of a lack of trust with him. It might take a while to.
But even on Saturday, right? Yeah, he could have played Ndombele fine, but he didn't. You know, where there are issues, and Ndombele has to earn his place in the team. There was no need to take Dele out of the midfield 3. He was there. Skip was there. Højbjerg was there. Why change the midfield three that I got you 3 wins out of 3 and put Winks into the centre? That just made no sense to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. The decision making hasn't been good. Like, you have to say, Nuno seems to have done a good job at rejuvenating the players and getting them galvanised and fighting for the badge. I think Japhet had a brilliant performance up until the sending off. I think he was brilliant. The way he took Zaha out to fight for his teammate Lucas, and the way he was fighting for the badge, it obviously a bit of a rush of blood to the head cost us the sending off. But I think he's doing a good job in terms of galvanizing the players, but tactically he's being a bit found out. You know, as you were saying, Ben, the game so far, we're crying out for a ball carrier, and we got away with it in each of those games.
Yeah, and then Palace was kind of the last straw. It's difficult to see. I think it's not even difficult to see, because the one thing that we need is a ball carrier, like you say, a Tanguy Ndombele, a Brian Hill, someone in there that can actually take it past a few men. Giovanni Lo Celso even. You've got 3 players in there who could potentially do a job. Maybe Brian Hill lesser of the other 2, but you know, you've got 3 players in there that can fill that kind of void that we're leaving in the team, and the sooner we get them in, the better, to be honest, because it's so boring to watch at the moment, isn't it?
It is, and it was so infuriating when we went 1-0 down. That is the moment where Nuno surely has to say, look, I understand he's probably damage limitations. He doesn't want to concede a second or a third, which we did anyway. But at that moment, you surely look at the team and you think, right, we're not creating anything here. We've nothing to lose. We've got 0 points from this game. There's 10, 15 minutes left. If we put on a creative midfielder, try and at least make something, get a spark, we can maybe try and take a point away from the game. Like, I understand if you take out Winks or Skip, it leaves a bit of vulnerability on the counter-attack, especially if you throw men forward. But you're at the stage where you're going to lose the game anyway. You know, at least try and do something about it. And it was the fact that he almost stood there like a passenger, like a stand-by, and didn't make that decisive decision. It's a little worrying, but, you know, it's early days. I hope he learns from it.
Yeah, it is very early days. So let's hope that it's just a blot in the copybook, and once we get injuries back and whatnot, and we have more of a stacked squad, because let's be honest, especially defensively wise and going forward as well, kind of down to the bare bones of injuries and stuff. So he was hamstrung in that way. So hopefully once we get players more fit, he won't think he has to go as pragmatic as he did against Palace, and we can start being a bit more adventurous. But it wasn't good viewing. And, you know, just for a point of reference, statistically, Arsenal had more threat in their game when they lost 5-0 to Man City than we did when we lost yesterday to Palace. Statistically. So that goes to show how poor we were going forward on Saturday. So that really is a serious issue. That's kind of unacceptable. Even down to 10 men, to have less threat than Arsenal had losing 5-0 to City, that's pretty unacceptable. So that is definitely an issue that has to be sorted out. But yeah, anything else you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, the pass map you were talking about with Gallagher. I saw that literally about 2 minutes before you boys were talking about it, and oh wow! It's a sight for sore eyes, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's Harry Winks in a nutshell, though, hasn't it been?
I know, and the thing is with Harry Winks, I feel like every single time he has a poor performance, we're all kind of like, right, we get on his back because we don't like what we see, and deservedly so. And we always kind of think, right, one more chance. He'll turn up the next game. He'll try and get himself up for it. And it's the same situation. He just lets down time and time again.
Yeah, and it was another poor performance. And it didn't make sense putting him in there in the midfield 3 when you already have Skip and Højbjerg and there's already Dele there. It just made no sense. So that was another bad decision from Nuno, and hopefully these decisions he can cut them out in the future, because as much as I sympathise with him with the injuries, he did have other options on the bench which could have minimised the disruption that he caused. He's the one who caused as much disruption to the team as much as the injuries. There was no need to cause so much disruption to a team that was functional. You know, he didn't have to
Yeah.
put Emerson straight in. He could have started Rodon, who played quite well when he came on, and put Tanganga right back, who might have been better at dealing with Zaha than Emerson was. He didn't have to change the midfield three when we had Dele, Skip, and Højbjerg all available. He could have kept that same midfield three and just given Hill a chance instead of changing the whole formation and changing the whole midfield. And it was just too much disruption, so it made no sense to me.
It's exactly that. You know, when the team sheet came out, it stunk of, let's go, lads, let's try and keep a clean sheet, let's try and see the game out, and we'll regroup when we've got all our players back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it stunk of. And
just-
when you go
yeah.
when you go into a game with that attitude, you're setting up to fail.
Especially
You
in
know,
that kind of opposition.
Yeah, because Palace had their backs up. You know, they've got Vieira, a new manager at Selhurst Park, but it's a tricky place to go. You know, it was poor attitude from Nuno.
I think he overthought it. I think he was just overthinking.
I think so. I think what you were saying earlier, trying to get the fullbacks high and have the three defensive midfielders cover, that was probably the plan. But it just didn't work, because when you've got Zaha on the left going up against Emerson on his debut, he was running him ragged in the second half. I thought this first half Emerson actually did quite well to hold him off. But
I think it was once we went down to 10 men, I think he got exposed.
I think so. But yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. Hopefully we can get a win on Thursday and build some confidence for the Chelsea game.
Yeah, let's hope so. But, you know, this Chelsea game, I'm really not looking forward to it. But look, we've got another day to talk about that Chelsea game. But Connor, thank you so much for coming on. Really great call. And we'll speak soon.
Big up, lads. Enjoy.
See you soon, Connor. Nice to see you.
Take care. And that is that for Good Morning Tottenham. A mammoth stream today, nearly 2.5 hours. Sorry for anyone that couldn't get on today, but do try again tomorrow morning. We'll be back for another Good Morning Tottenham tomorrow. But yeah, like I said, thank you all for all the viewers and the call-ins. We'll see you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.